What is good, Chaotic Nation? It is your boy Chaos here, and we are back with the PDL Season 4 preseason podcast. No, I just wanted to build up dramatic tension. I'm not alone. I am joined by my councilman, Tui.
Hello.
The official Tui5.
That's official underscore. Oh, God.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I tried.
Make sure. Yeah, so I'm ready. Let's do this.
So, fun thing. PDL Season 4 is here. We have more teams than we've had before. I am a little sad to report that we started out with 12 teams, and we're down to 9 teams right now.
It's 8, isn't it?
It's 9 as far as I know. Let me see. 4. Yeah, it's 9. Can't count. Don't make me doubt myself. But yeah, we got 9 teams.
No. Wait,
What?
1, 2,
Yeah, there's 9.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 9.
I said 9. So I'm
Yeah.
saying. That's why Tui doesn't. That's why I don't let Tui do stuff. But we actually are starting something new this season. We got divisions coming out this season. So we got 4 divisions for the teams. Each division has 2, except for the red division, which has 3. The divisions are as follows: the Detroit Red Wingles, the Derby Dawn Fans, and the Imploding Typhlosions are in the red division. The Shamrock Scythers, I got it right because I don't know this team, is in the Shamrock Scythers and the Rhode Island Radicates are going to be your blue division. The Anaheim Fennekins and the Southampton Sand Slashes this season are in the green division, and the New York Mets and the North Carolina Arcanines are in the yellow division.
I've just spilled water on my lap.
You sure you didn't wet yourself?
I promise.
So the divisions are going to be playing a role in the finals and determining the postseason and how that's going to be running. Again, we'll be doing another podcast once the season is over. I'll probably be joined by Tui again, hopefully, and we'll be doing that. But today, we're going to be starting out with the draft, telling you what teams got what, and I'll let you say anything else you want to say about how this is set up so far before we get going.
Yeah, I'm actually super pumped. You know, I'm a little disappointed that we went from 12 down to 9. I'm really pumped for the season. Actually, I'd say this is the most pumped I've been for a season since maybe season 1.
Yeah.
Season 2, I wasn't really. I don't think I was there.
I really like season 3.
Season 3 was fun, but this year I'm pumped. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. Derby Dawn fans we'll get into a little bit later, but divisions I'm excited for. So I've asked for them for the last 2 seasons, I think now.
Yeah, this is season 1, yeah.
I have asked for divisions. I got my way. I'm pumped. You know, it's gonna be a good season. You know, and remember, guys, pick your needs before you draft your wants.
Dude, I want somebody in chat to give me a counter every time Tui says this. That's one.
It's
that's your job. Ender, can that be your job?
Unfortunately, I think I'll be saying it most about myself.
Yeah, I was going to be like, I'm just going to start saying it about you. All right. Well, anything else before we jump into this?
Let's get straight into this. I'm hyped. So
all right. Oof, yeah, I see that in the chat. I had something I wanted to say, and I don't remember what I wanted to say now. Oh, yeah. Just so you guys know, all matches and the order of the draft was randomly generated, as well as the divisions are also randomly generated, all using random.net. So shout out to random.net, unofficial sponsor. I don't know if we're sponsored by the certain invisible corporations or not, but I thought we might be. But I don't think they've gotten back to us. So just stop eating your Maryland cookies for like 1 second. So, yeah, shout out to Invisible Corporation. You guys can type !IC in chat. Check that out. And we're partnered with them because we're both part of that. So, just going to make it
I had a biscuit in my mouth and you started to call Invisible Corporations. I had to defend it.
Yeah. I was saying anything then.
That is true.
All right. So,
I had muted my mic, though.
Yeah, I did see that. But, yeah, everything's been randomly number generated. All the positionings of the draft have been randomly number generated, except for the first overall pick, which is retained by the champion, and that would be moi. And so we get into my team right off the bat, and I'm really excited to show you my first pick being the Venusaur. Bruh. All right. I know everybody wanted this thing, and I'm really excited to get it. It was something that I had on my draft radar for a couple seasons now. I just never thought it was good enough for the team. Never really fit. But this season, I focused around Venusaur as my linchpin, a mon that I wanted to use for this league, and also just, I like my Kanto boys. So, as I said, as I'll say tomorrow in my my draft breakdown of my team, this was something that I thought that if I didn't grab it round 1, there was no way I was going to get all the way through round 1 and then round 2 to get this Venusaur, because I have a wheel pick, so I get to pick 2 times in a row at the end of one round and at the start of the next round. So it's a little bit harder for me to get picks, but I do get the first overall pick, and that does give me this Venusaur. I'm pretty sure everybody wanted it, or at least thought about it, maybe the Mega Venusaur. And fun fact, if you guys draft a normal Pokemon, you also take away its Mega form. So I got rid of Mega Venusaur from this, and honestly, if I didn't get rid of that thing, it was going to destroy my team later on. So I'm glad I got Venusaur, and I'm glad to have it on my team.
I have some things to say about Venusaur. Chaos said about how it wouldn't probably get to the end of round 2. I can confirm this. Mega Venusaur was my round 1 pick I planned.
Yeah.
I can also say pretty confidently, you've definitely fielded some people have asked for a trade with it, haven't they?
Oh yeah, it's been the most sought after mon.
Because I definitely asked to trade. It's a good mon. I personally would have gone for the Mega version, but I see why you went for regular Venusaur. It's a good mon. Also lower tier, I believe.
It's tier 4.
They're both tier 4.
It's tier 4. No, this is tier 4. Mega Venusaur is tier 1.
Yeah, so it's points are saved. It's actually a very good pick because I'm like 99% sure everyone took it. It's a good pick. I am interested to see how it will do. I'm also interested to see will it be on your team in the playoffs. Because you're one of the most prolific free agency pickups.
It'll be on my team. It's gonna be on my team. I'm not getting rid
of
this.
I will be interested to see how it fits on. But let's move on to the second overall pick of this year's draft, which was I can't see because I'm an idiot. Tapu Lele. The Southampton Slashes picked Tapu Lele, which is a tier 1 Pokemon. It's a good typing, deals with dragon types quite nicely. Badass shiny. So
language, my channel, sir.
Oh yeah. Great shiny, I should say. Really nice shiny. But in competitive, obviously it's tier 1 for a reason. Mm-hmm. It is good. If it's tier 1 and tier 2, they're good. Certain tier 3s, 4s, and 5s are good, but tier 1s, you got a winner. You've got a known winner. With it, the Sand Slashers could build a team off it. It's good trade bait. However, I think this might have been a bit of a reach. I'm not sure whether it would have, been there a little bit later. I understand, get picking it early if you want to build a team off it, but I do think it probably would have been there around 3 or 4. I might be wrong. I will accept that, but I do think it could have been there to later on.
I'm also looking at like the likes, and I'm surprised. Wow, I've had the most like influence on this video, like in the first 10 minutes. I have 5 dislikes already. It's great. Thank you guys, appreciate you. But Tapu Lele, as Stewie said, I honestly also thought this thing would be a later draft pick. I understand again why Ender Mewtwo did it. It honestly makes sense because he's pretty much in the same predicament I am, trying to go through at the time 12 different teams twice. Basically, the only team he wasn't going to pick before he got to pick again was me. So, probably a good idea to grab something that you're going to want to use and build a team around. I think he's done a really good job with the rest of his team building around it. It seems like it fits and synergizes pretty much with everything he's got on his squad. There's a few mons that I question whether or not they're going to be brought together, but this is ultimately a good mon. It can play sort of defensive. It can play offensive. It really just fills what you need it to do, and I think it's an overall good pick for the Southampton Sand Slashes, although I don't know if it should have gone to round 1 or not. Next up, we got the Shamrock Scythers taking, if my screen will go, I clicked off of it, and so it doesn't do that. Taking Victini, and I'm actually a little bummed about this. This was not going to lie on my draft strategy. It's sad to say that the third pick in actually destroyed my draft, which is a fun time. But this thing is very offensive. Again, a mythical Pokemon, 100 base stats in every total. Like every single stat has 100 base stat, and you can build this offensively. You can build this Choice Band. You can build this Choice Scarf. You can build this Choice Spec. You can build this Assault Vest defensive if you want to. You can put a berry on it if you want to and make it take a hit. This thing can do a lot of different stuff, and it's honestly a really, really big threat on anybody's team. I think it was a well-designed pick and well-taken pick. Honestly, if it was still there in round 2, it would have been on my team. But that's a little bit different of a story. I think it's going to be a good mon. I think he's sort of built a team around it. I kind of hesitate to see exactly where it fits in. But I think Daramo has an idea of what he wants to use this thing for. And I expect to see this thing pretty much every week.
I actually agree with you on most things there. I do agree that stats are good. You can build it attackingly. You can build a special attackingly. You are right. It wouldn't have made it to round 2 because it was also on my draft strategy. As you can see, early on, my draft took a bit of a beating. I won't lie. But yeah, I agree with everything you said there. And I think, how I said about Tapu
Lele.
How it was taken too early. This Pokemon was taken a projected spot. I had a feeling it would go early on. So I would say it was a good pick. So let's move on to the 4th pick of the draft. Tekkit and the Imploding Typhlosion selected Cloyster. Now,
have fun with this one.
Well, where to begin? Tekkit, what are you thinking, man? Chaos took a tier 4 round 1. But it's a solid tier 4 and probably could have been a bit higher, but we left it tier 4 because it's mega.
We don't have to talk about that.
Yeah, we don't talk about it. Tier 3. It is tier 3, isn't it?
Yes.
Before I said stupid.
It's tier 3.
What were you thinking, boy? I know you like Cloyster, but this was definitely a want, not a need. Mm-hmm. You can't build a team around Cloyster.
I mean, you could, but it's hard. But go ahead.
Yeah, that's my point. You need to pick your needs before you pick your wants.
That's number 2.
I need to make a shirt out of that one day.
You keep saying that, you just never did.
I did last year.
Did you make a shirt out of it?
Yeah, I did.
Interesting.
With Cloyster. Yeah, like I said about Tapu Lele, this Pokemon I'm 100% sure would have been there around 12.
I wouldn't put Tapu Lele around 12, but sure.
I wouldn't put Tapu Lele around 12, but I would say this round 12. You would see it. Because I, for one, no interest in it. I know for a fact you didn't. Just a bad overall pick, wasn't it? Chaos?
Yeah, I think I know exactly why Tekkit picks this thing. He always picks Cloyster, aka Lenny Face, and I don't understand it. He's never used it to use in any of my battles that I've had with him. It does, as I do see in chat, and I do recognize it can be a spiker, but this is probably going to be a White Herb Shell Smash, which is the set that Cloyster runs all the time. Probably going to have Icicle Spear as a priority move, which is something to look out for. But ultimately, I feel like this pick, again, could be a lot later in the draft. Would I say it's going to be there around 12? Maybe not. But it's probably going to at least sit like halfway through the draft. You probably can find it later. And I would have prioritized something like a good tier 1 slot to take him over, or something to start the building of your team. I always like to clarify that the first round is the round that you make or break your team. And it is the round you have to pick something that you're going to either use really offensively and just it should be your top killer, or it should be your most offensive mon. Either way, it's going to be something you probably want to look at bringing every single week. And it has a good viability to be on your team in every single matchup. So Cloyster, I just don't think it meets that. I feel like this is more of a meme pick because it's Tekkit and he literally just picked memes or My Little Pony stuff. So
he did do that, yeah.
Yeah, so I really think that maybe next season take a better look at what you should be drafting Tekkit. This is a fine Pokemon overall. It's just for a first round pick, it is not what you should be doing and not what I would expect to see. Moving on to the next pick, we got the Darby Dawn fans and Dragonite. Now, I don't know about this pick. I've been on the edge of this pick. I think this is one of the ones that could go either way in this first round. I know Tui grabbed this last season and tried to use it to perfection. However, 6-0. But I think it's a good pick for him. Honestly, it's something that he likes to use and uses well most of the time. So I'll give him that it's a good mon to draft. However, I think it would have been there for a couple rounds. I'm not going to lie. This also was on my draft strategy. I knew I wasn't going to get it because Tui was going to grab it because he always grabs mons that he likes. Same with Tekkit. But this is something that I think it's warranted that it should be on the team. I don't know if it's an overall first round pick, and Tui's sitting about the middle of the first round. So he probably had a chance to grab this again in the second round, which is where I would really place this thing, second or third round overall. So taking it first round, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I still think it could have been there a little bit later. Not gonna lie, if it was there probably like round 4, I might have picked it up. But I knew it wasn't going to last that long.
What you say about getting it later on, I absolutely agree with. This is my own mon, and I'm saying I could have got this later. I can use it well, but if it goes wrong, it did go wrong quite spectacularly.
Yeah.
It didn't go well, but not, It is a mon I have a little bit of a soft spot for, and I do like to use it because I'm sure you've seen some of my Showdowns streams back in May. I did put Dragon on quite a few teams. However, I do agree with you. It could have gone to second round. It isn't a first round pick. As you said, your first round pick, you make or break your team. And unfortunately, I will say this. This is where my draft went wrong. This is where things began to go wrong.
I think you had at least another. Well, I don't know what you drafted second, but you had at least. This was an okay pick for you. Yeah, your next round's where you ruined it. That's what, we'll talk about that later.
That's a story for another day, for later on. But I am happy I got Dragonite. I did want Dragonite. I won't lie. It was really high up on my board. Was this a panic pick?
Yes. And
me to keep a counter of this. Absolutely. I just seen two of my mons really high, but I wanted to go right before me. And I was like, right, I need Dragonite. So it's like, there you go. It's life, and that's why we love draft leagues. So I think we should move on to the next pick. North Carolina Arcanines and Celesteela. Tier 1. Brilliant pick, to be honest. We all knew this wasn't going to last long. I think last year, if I'm not mistaken, it went like round 8 or something.
Yeah, it was late.
It was really late. But if you go back and watch, I think you had it season 1.
Season 1.
Absolute bodied. It was a really nice pick. Obviously, this is what Zion wanted to build his team around. This is obviously his Kingpin or Venusaur. This is what he wants to build his team around. I can't remember the rest of his team, I won't lie. It's a very nice pick, very solid defense. You can build a wall around it and store teams out with Toxic. See, Mewtwo's think I'm taking it first round. It's a good pick, I won't lie. Really nice stats. I wouldn't say you reached, I'll say that you got this at a good time because I know I was looking at it. So this is another Pokemon that was high up on my draft board and got taken off. So yeah.
Literally everything too you wanted went first round, so
it really did.
Just so you know. So my boy picking Celesteela. Now I'm not gonna lie, looking at his team, it looks kind of similar to me. I kind of see some similarities to some of the things I drafted season 1. But as always, Celesteela is always a really good mon to get. It's something that actually, fun fact, I actually think no one drafted it last season. Because I prepped for it. I prepped for this last season and I didn't have to worry about it. So I'm pretty sure it wasn't drafted. But this is a very solid Pokemon. It is an uber defensive tank. You can just sit there and spam Heavy Slam on things. You can use Leech Seed. You can Toxic, whittle things down. This is a very defensive Pokemon, but Season 1, it was my top kill. It was the top kill in the league, I think. Season 1.
I think Inferno picked it by 1.
Oh, maybe it was close, but it was up there. It was like one of the best killing mons in the league, and just to have a defensive mon have that status and have that kind of power, that's really interesting. And it just really comes down to how well you use it. This thing can come in and take hits, but also it's gonna suffer if you don't pay attention to what you're doing. So
yeah,
I think it was a good pick for him. I'm not so sure about the rest of his team. There are a few holes that this thing really covers that he kind of doubled over with some other mons. So I'm not 100% sure if that's what I want to focus on at this point. But I feel like this is a good mon for him to start building the team. As I said, your first pick, got to be something you can build a team around. And I think Celestial is a great option. Starts that Fairy Dragon Steel Core, which is so imminent in Draft League. And I really just think it's a good pick. And I can say that from experience because I've used this thing already, and it's really, really good. Next up, we got the New York Mets and mascot Mew, dude. Ooh. Let's be honest, not shocked at all. Let's be honest. Good pick first overall. Again, mythical Pokemon, 100 base stats in every total. It is crazy difficult to deal with. Mew, I've seen pretty much defensive Mew as the staple for Mews go in competitive battling whatsoever. But Mew can't surprise you. Also go physical, also go special, can go defensive, can be a tank, can stall you out. This thing is just every utility you can ever possibly think of. It is the most diverse and most difficult Pokemon to counter whatsoever because it gets access to every TM, which is a pain in the butt. And it also has a really good move pool and also very good stats. So just a difficult mon to deal with. Again, this had to be picked first round, I believe, because if it wasn't there, I don't think it would have been there at the end of this round. But for me, personally, I'm a little sad to see Mew go to the New York Mets just because it's something that he picks up pretty much every season. And
I think he has picked up every season.
As for me, I like to see a little bit more diversity in our teams. So, I mean, good on you grabbing a Pokemon that you're comfortable with and you like. And it's a good pick. But I probably wouldn't have drafted it if I were you just because I wanted to try something different.
You know, I do agree with you about picking up something different, but it is always nice to have a Pokemon you know you can use on your team. So from that point of view, it's a good pick. It's obviously very good stats, good move pool, and we've seen Mew can run it. We know Mew can run it. We've seen him do it. So it's a good pick in a way, you know. And I do agree with your point about it wouldn't be there at that later round. You are spot on, I think. You know, I wasn't too interested in it, but I can imagine some of the people were. Good pick. I think it's about where we expected Mew to go. I think Mew went round 1 last year to the New York Mets.
Yeah, same team. Yeah. It's always
so there is, you know, I do agree with you. I think Mew, if you're watching, maybe try something different next year because you know that's the fun about Draft League. You try something new. Now the next pick we have. The Rodon Raticate and Politoed Tier 5. Reach is the main thing I can say about that. You know, definitely could have got this much later. I used Politoed last year, very good set brain. Not much else really. You know, stats are alright, but not brilliant. There are some stats that are good, some stats that aren't so good. You know, it's got a lot of weaknesses. Electric, grass, you know, 2 common types. Is not a tier 1 mon. Let's be honest. I think this is up there for my Dugong round 1 pick. The bad first round picks. You know, it's not great. However, Concerted Rain, there is pop bright sides to it. Just you could have got it like round maybe even 11, 10, 11, 12. Chaos.
I think this is a really bad pick. You literally just showed your hand, dude. You showed that you're doing a rain team. You showed that what you're going to be doing with it. It's very, very easy to see what you're going to be doing. And I was muted, so that's why you can hear me on your side because I muted my headset. But I really think that this is a mon you definitely draft like midway through the draft. You don't show it right away. You come in, like, if you want to do a rain team, you come grab, like, maybe, like, Tapu Koko or, like, Tornadoes or something first round. Don't grab the Politoed. You literally showed your hand. Like, if somebody wanted to, they could just adapt their whole draft around destroying your rain team. Now, I do think he's still got a good team overall. It reminds me a lot of my Season 2 team because I also had Politoed and I used Rain Season 2. But this is not a first-round pick by a long shot. Yes, it can be defensive, but, you know, Politoed, late-round pick. Next up, we got the Anaheim Fenneckins taking Mega Diancie, and man, do I hate this freaking thing. Mega Diancie is such a good pick. And I'm a little actually scared. I don't know how JJ plays. I know he's done a few draft leagues, so it does kind of intimidate me a little bit that he picked a really solid Mon first round. This thing can be very tanky. It can sit here. It's got magic bounces. Its ability to get rid of hazards and things like that. So I think it's a good staple to start your team with. I don't know if it would be there later on in the draft, so it's probably a good grab here at round 1. I mean, this is the end of round 1, so a good overall grab at the final last slot of round 1. And it really synergizes well with the rest of his team, and it looks like he's going to have a fun season with this thing being his lead.
I agree with you. You know, ability's good, decent moveset. I don't think it would be hard push to say it would have been drafted to. I don't think it would go next round. I think the third round, where he has picked right at the end, there is actually a chance he wouldn't get it. So actually, makes quite a bit of sense to take it round 1. Good Mon, great ability. Yeah, I think that's a solid pick. The next pick is also by the Anaheim Fenneckins, and it's Jirachi. Great, another mythical with good stats. I think 100 in everything. You Chaos can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's 100 in everything. Mythical.
You know, it's a great Mon, good, decent moveset, good typing. I think he's got a solid first 2 Pokemon.
Yeah, this is a good grab. I like using my Jirachi, season 3, I believe, and he has a really solid Fairy Dragon Steel Core going right now. Like a good solid, like I know what his Dragon type is. He's got a good Fairy Dragon Steel Core, which is going to be something you're going to have to deal with this guy. And obviously a good draft player, knows what he's doing with this pick. A really solid Pokemon, got both special and physical moves since it is a mythical Pokemon with 100 base stats in every total. Congratulations to you. You got that right.
Yes.
But it really just depends on what you want to do with this thing. And it just pairs really well with Mega Diancie for me. And looking at the rest of his team, it pairs well with all those too. So I think he's got a solid setup right now. And this is definitely someone to watch out for. Next pick on the draft, if I can get it to go, is Mega Swampert from our Rain team. I believe that is the Rhode Island Raticates. Yes, that is the Rhode Island Raticates. So this is a good grab for what you've already showed us. You've showed us your hand quite literally round 1 with Politoed, then grabbing Mega Swampert. This is probably the best play you could do. Make sure you get your Mega. Make sure you get something that's going to be an absolute powerhouse in Rain. And I think he's done a really good job with grabbing this. Mega Swampert, honestly, something that a lot of people probably wouldn't draft right off the bat. It is a Mega, so he probably could last a little bit longer. And then regular Swampert's not the best Mom, but it is something that people might think of later on. I think this could have gone later. However, I do see the point in grabbing it right now, as you want to make sure you have your core for your Rain team. And overall, solid pick.
I agree with you. You know, he's obviously shown us he's obviously going for a Rain team. Mega Swampert actually takes away a weakness of Electric to Swamp. Well, obviously Swampert's not weak to Electric anyway, so it's, you know, not weak to Electric, takes away a weakness, but 4 times weak to a common typing Grass types moves. Not great, but it is a solid Mon. Probably could have gone later, but it is important he got his Mega and got a Pokemon that will go well with his female team, which is Rain team. Now my next pick is Medicham, not the Mega one, and it's New York Met. Tip 4 Pokemon misses. I like this pick generally. Decent stats. I don't really rate the Mega, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of it as a Pokemon with this. I just don't think I don't think you gain more. Medicham is quite an aggressive Pokemon. You got high jump kick, but also has some Psychic type moves in there. So it's overall a good Mon, but could it have been picked later? I say probably. Chaos.
This is a really good pick, honestly.
Oh.
Not round two. Not round two, but it's a good pick nonetheless. I've used Metacham. I've seen Metacham used. It's been used all 4 seasons, whether it's in its Mega form or it's in its regular form. Metacham has been used. And this thing has just had crazy attack stats since it's doubled with its ability, which is Pure Power or Huge Power. They both do the same thing, so whichever one it is, that's what I believe it's Pure Power, but it doesn't really matter. They're the same move. They're the same ability. But this thing has got a lot of utility, a lot of coverage, can be run very fast, can be run very offensively. Very frail, that's an issue, and that gives you a second Psychic type, so you're starting to build a weakness here to Dark and Ghost, which is something you might want to watch out for later down the road. I know Mew likes to grab his Ghost types and Dark types as well, so we might see those later on in the draft. In fact, I actually don't think he has any of those this season. He doesn't, which is crazy for him because he usually grabs the Gengar and those kind of things. But I think it's a good pick overall. Could have gone later, definitely. But, you know, if you want something, I guess grab it. Next up, we got the North Carolina Arcanines grabbing Sylveon. And that's quite interesting, honestly. Sylveon actually pairs with Celesteela pretty nicely. Let's just be honest. Fairy Dragon Steel Core, everybody's going for that right off the bat. I think y'all have watched my Draft League videos too much, so you need to chill. But this is probably the best fairy type you've got in the game. Let's be honest here. Unless you want to run like a defensive one like Florges or something like that. But you're going to have a really offensive time with Sylveon. It pairs really nicely with that Celesteela because Celesteela is more known to be defensive mon, so that works well. The only thing I'm worried about is this thing doesn't have really a wide move pool. It pretty much brings the same like 4 moves every week, so you're going to have a tough time. I tried to say trouble and tough time at the same time. That's great. You're going to have a tough time trying to fit this thing into slots without somebody knowing it. And I mean, yeah, you could save it in the back and put it in late game, but I mean, it does destroy things, but again, the versatility of this mon, I don't know about it. It's a good second round pick, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't draft it personally.
I think this is quite a good second round pick. You know, he's got good steel fairy type core to his team, which I do agree with you, prepare nice. I would agree, it is the best fairy type in the game. Moveset's a little bit limiting though. I'm about to sneeze.
It's you.
Thank you, I am HG. I think it's a good pick. You know, it does pair well with Celesteela. I think there's 2 good picks. Could he have got it later? I've said that a lot too much. I think this is a bit early for Sylveon, but actually, if that's what you want to go team on, he's built a team nice, and that's what you need to do early rounds. And then the next pick, it's a horrendous pick. Genuinely think it's the worst pick in the draft.
It's not.
Well, it's up there for the worst pick in the draft. This was a panic pick. I can't deny. I wanted Mega Venusaur. I didn't get it. Now I look back and go, there's a much better Mega I could have got. It's generally quite a good one, you know, got decent ability. Moveset's not too bad actually. Stats are decent. It's just I don't think it goes well with my team.
I would agree with that. It's not really the best suited for your team. I'm honestly surprised it was Mega, because personal feelings for me is I always like using a regular Tyranitar over a Mega Tyranitar that moves. The item slot is absolutely essential for using Tyranitar in my mind. So with a quad weakness to fighting, which again is one of the staple types out there, as well as ground being a 2x weakness, this thing is going to probably not see a whole lot of gameplay time because if it gets on the field, it's probably dead. So that's just a worry for me. Grabbing it as a tier 1 Mega, you're really limiting your points. Could this thing go later in the draft? Hands down. Totally could go later in the draft. But it's an interesting pick nonetheless. I want to see how you use it or how you don't use it and trade it away week 1. But I mean, it's up to you, and we'll see how it goes. Next up is the Imploding Typhlosions, and they have picked up Mega Beedrill again. Look, I'm going to be honest, Tech, this is probably one of your best picks that you ever make every season. I don't know why you like Mega Beedrill so much, but it's good. I mean, it's predictable, but it's good. It's fast. Like, this is like one of the fastest mons out there. So good luck outspeeding it. Even if it has a bad type matchup, it's just going to U-turn out. So I feel like this could be a very predictable mon, though. So it's something to take a look at. And also, if you come in on a move and you're not Mega Evolved, you're going to have a little bit of an issue. Because Beedrill's not the biggest tank out there. So it's something to be a little wary about. I think it's a good pick. It's probably where it would go in the draft. So I'll give you a good pick, Tekkit. You can have that one.
I actually agree with you. I think this is, by Tekkit standards, a good pick. I do agree, it's a good mod. But Tekkit's team is so predictable. Like, I know straight away when I face Tekkit, those two mons come in.
Yeah.
And I can prep for it, you know. So for Tekkit's team to do well, he needs to start being so predictable. Because I can guess his team. Generally, it is one of the quick spawns, but you are right. If he's not switched in as Mega Beedrill, he is in trouble. So the next one is the Shamrock Cyphers selecting Conkeldurr. Now, I don't really know how I feel about this pick, you know. Could it have gone later? Probably. It's got quite a bit tank, you know. It's got good stats, good good decent moves that you can get some rock type moves on there. But it has got like flying weakness, and that's quite a common typing. Also weak to ice.
It's not weak to ice.
Is it not?
It's a fighting type. It's weak to psychic and flying.
I do apologize. I stand corrected. But psychic and flying, two weak, two common types. You know, there are many Pokemon you wouldn't expect to have like psychic, and it has psychic. You know, same with Air Slash. There's some Pokemon you wouldn't expect to have it, but do have it. I also just don't feel it goes very well with Victini. If I'm being honest.
I would agree with that. It doesn't really go well with Victini. But the thing is, like, it can be used with the rest of his team pretty nicely. And I think he was playing ahead here with his team and his draft. I don't agree with grabbing Conkeldurr as your fighting type. I mean, yes, it is powerful. It's probably going to do a Guts Flame Orb set, but, you know, I'm not 100% on this pick. I've never used it myself, so I'm not 100% on, like, utility of this mon, how it's going to be used. I know it's a fighting type. It probably gets a lot of different coverage moves, so interesting pick there. But I would have really focused on something that's going to pair with this Victini right off the bat, rather than grabbing something that I might have been able to probably grab near the end of the draft. So not the pick I would have done, but, you know, it's still an interesting grab. And I'm really excited to see somebody use this, because I don't think it's been used yet in the PDL.
I don't think it's that good.
Next up, we got my man Ender Mewtwo and the Southampton Sandslash is grabbing my boy Crook. Dude, Crook is a beast. Let me just say that. I really like this pick for the team. I think it really pairs with that Tapu Lele actually pretty nicely, because we do have a Dark type and a Psychic Fairy type. So you're going to have coverage for pretty much everything you need with those two mons. It is very fast. It's very powerful. It can get Moxie as a way to boost its attack stat. It can run Intimidate to lower your attack stat. This thing is going to be a threat regardless of how you bring it. And I'm interested to see how it's run this season.
I think, you know, Moxie, that's a huge advantage. If you take two mons down with Moxie, you're gonna sweep. Let's be honest. I think it does pair well with Tapu Lele with the Dark. Very much, but that won't be affected by those two. So I say good overall pick and good forward thinking for building this team. The next pick is the Detroit Red Winkles with their Mega Stabilize. I like this Pokemon. You know, I've used it not in draft leagues, but I have used it in battle. It's a great staller. It can stall battles. I think it's very, very popular in drafting battles. And overall, very good stall mon. I actually do believe you got this at the bang on time. I was actually a little surprised it survived this late. I personally wasn't interested in it, but I do nonetheless believe it's a good mon.
This was a really interesting pick for me. It's something I wanted to grab second round. As Tui said, I didn't expect it to be here. I actually had a backup pick that I was actually ready to grab, which paired just as well with Venusaur, actually. But This thing is nice. I'm starting to build a defensive core, as you guys can start seeing with the Venusaur and Mega Sableye. I really just wanted this thing to get rid of hazards as a nice magic bounce set. However, I can use the prankster sets on the regular Sableye to maybe spread some, some fun stuff around on my opponents before I Mega Evolve. But honestly, this is a great way for me to keep hazard off my side of the field. It only is weak to Fairy, which is a really good typing for this thing. Dark and Ghost, very solid. Not many things are going to be touching it. And also, if I wanted to, just to bring in versus a Rapid Spinner, I don't even have to have the same Mega Evolve. So it shuts down hazards, and I really like that about it. Next up is the real pick for the Detroit Red Wings. Their third round starting right now. And we are grabbing Latias with our third pick. This is another interesting mon. I'm starting to get that Fairy Dragon Steel Core here, as you guys can start seeing with this nice solid Dragon type. Again, I'm trying to build some defensive utility for my team, knowing that I'm going to have to deal with some of the defensive mons and offensive mons, as we've already seen in this draft. So I think Latias is a great pick here for me. I don't know how much longer this thing will have lasted, but if it's like the Mega Latias, it's like Mega Latios, it could have been a pick that stayed around for pretty much the entire draft. So I really wanted this thing. It gives me another way to deal with hazards with Defog, as well as it can be a nice support mon. It can be offensive if I want it to be. So it's really going to make other teams think about what they want to bring when they see this thing come into a battle.
With Latias, I think this is a good team. Pairs very well with your other two picks of Venusaur and Mega Sableye. I do think, was it going to be later on? Probably not. I think it was, as Endemutu says, two very scary picks. Now I got this week one. This scares the hell out of me. I am worried about it. Good spine to the team, and that's what the early rounds are for. Also, 3 solid mons. So Chaos team is shaping up nicely. Then the next pick is the Southampton Sandslashers picking Sivali. This is an interesting pick because obviously many types. I think it does pair quite well with Crocodile and Tapu Lele. But its stats are alright, Chaos can correct me if I'm wrong there, by the way.
100 in each stat.
It's very good. It's very good stats. I think, it's tier 5, so it's only 10 draft points, so it's actually, draft-wise, a very good economic pick, shall we say, because you get lots for 10 points. Good mon. And I like the looks of this Sandslashers team. It looks good. Chaos.
I'm interested in this pick as a way to sit here. I think he's got 2 really good mons in Tapu Lele and Crook. But for Sivali as a mon to grab right now, it's interesting. I also realized I spelled it wrong, so I apologize for that. Oh no, I spelled it right. And I wasn't wrong. It actually is 95 in each stat. I didn't think it had the mythical numbers, but it is 95 in each stat. It does have the RKS system, which allows it to be multiple types. So, it really could be anything here. And I do think it's a nice utility mon to have in the back. Normal types are always great to have as a nice coverage mon for your team, but I think it could have gone later in the draft. I'm not knocking this thing. It's probably going to be used pretty nicely, but just fitting it in your team is going to be quite an interesting thing to see, and I'm kind of interested to see how it's used this season. Next up, we got the Shamrock Scythers and the boy Blastoise. Interesting pick. Again, a lower tier mon, tier 4. Got the Rapid Spin ability to use Rapid Spin as a move to get rid of hazards. It's pretty tanky. It can also be set up as a Aqua Jet as a priority move. It got Toxic and things like that to cause you status issues. This thing is actually pretty good. I like my Kanto starters. I think they're all really good. Charizard's not the best in Draft League, but they're all really good. And I think this is just a good offensive and defensive mon for you. Nice middle ground play to pair with the fire type that you already have. So I'd say solid pick.
I also agree, solid picks. I wanted Blastoise. It was another
multiple times that you drafted that was already taken. So
yeah, thanks for reminding me. I am not the smartest. I did try to draft it, but it had been taken. So I'm an idiot. I actually used Blastoise. It was even last season.
Season 1.
Was it season 1?
Yep.
God, it was a while ago. I like Blastoise. I do like it. You can set Rain with it, with Rain Dish. So you get a little bit of HP back. You got Protect, you got Rest, you got Toxic. And that's just defensive. So defensively, solid. Offensively, you know, it's not maybe the best, but you can stall out with it. In fact, I did stall out one victory against Tech-It with Blastoise. Season 1. Very nice pick. I'm just not sure how it pairs. I think the Cypher's got 3 good mons, they just don't pair very well, in a way. Anyway, the next pick is the Imploding Typhlosions, with yet another predictable pick, Mudsdale Tier 5. So only 10 draft points, so it's not the end of the world. Stamina, which is, I think, a very good ability because you raise your defense. But this is just Tech-It being a bit of a meme. He hasn't thought very seriously about this. He's gone, what do I want meme-wise? And this is it. I can already predict his nickname will be Applejack. Tech-It hasn't taken this pick very seriously. I think Mega Beedrill, good pick. Cloyster, alright. Mudsdale, terrible. Alright. Chaos.
I actually think this thing is a good mon. I think it pairs pretty nicely with that Beedrill, actually, which is quite an interesting... I mean, it pairs both well with Beedrill and Cloyster. I think it's a good pairing here. It gives good synergy between these 3 mons. However, yes, this is a pick that could be much later in the draft. Not a lot of people are grabbing tier 5s off the bat. We're not everybody from season 3 where we decide to grab tier 5s first round. So this could have been something later on in the draft. It is a good mon, as Tui has mentioned, the defense ability and stamina, boosting that defense stat every time you get hit by a physical move. Like if you predict some kind of multi-hit move, you're just gonna tank it and then be at +5. Like that's not a bad strategy. It's just that this thing, it's not really super great. That's why it's tier 5. It can be defensive, but I think it really lacks in speed and lacks in putting offensive pressure on things. So, I mean, if you really wanted to, you could just toxic this thing and let it run out. So, it's a good pick for the team. I just think it could have gone later. And I know Tech-It wanted it because, you know, the Applejack thing, because that's him. Next up is the Darby Dawn fans and their third pick, Gyarados. So, I wonder why somebody draft this, man. My girl Gertrude coming in clutch in season 3, doing a lot of work for the team, and I think somebody kind of wanted it because it reminded him of the fact that this thing can set up and sweep on things. It is kind of scary. It can be predictable, but the thing about Gyarados is it just does its job so well that even if it is predicted, you're gonna have a hard time countering it, and that's just how it is. So overall, solid pick, probably the best pick Tui's made in a long time. So, I mean, he did take it out of my book. So, you know, shout out to him for watching my series, which you all should go watch. So go check it out.
Right. With Gyarados, I went back and watched season 3, and it was amazing. Chaos ran it to perfection. Now he had Mega Gyarados. I only have Gyarados. I plan to switch that at some point.
No, you shouldn't have said that.
I've already confirmed it.
Right.
Not week 1.
You can't because you have to switch your answer out.
It's this page on. You know, it's a good mom. I like it. Just a moment. I'm having a little technical difficulty with the presentation. It's a good mon. You know, good stats and can sweep, as I found out the hard way.
No, yeah.
He did absolutely wreck me last year, you know, I'll admit that.
Can I get a 6-0?
Thanks, mate.
Every time. Got you.
I do think, you know, I spoke to Chaos right from my pick and he said, Meg, it's better. I agree with him. But I think this pairs quite nicely with Dragonite. 2 Dragon Dancers. Admittedly, doesn't pair very well with Mega T-Tar, but that's one of those things. And I do plan to rectify my team. Because I'll be honest, my draft was terrible. Anyway.
Can I add something real quick? because I want to.
Yeah.
I'm just steal your thunder. I actually think Gyarados pairs. I didn't talk about this all, but Gyarados actually really pairs well with this team, in my opinion. You get that sand up, and you just put this thing in, and as it's set up, you're pretty good. Right, go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you for once. The next pick is Altaria, Dragon type. Well, obviously Zahn has gone for the Steel Fairy Dragon core, and I'll be interested to see Altaria. I don't actually know that much about Altaria. Has a Mega. He's not selective enough form here. You know, it's tier 4, so it's obviously not the best. It's not your Dragonites. It's not your best Dragon type, but I think it's a good option. I think picking Altaria, you know, this is about where I'd expect an Altaria to go. It's got Perish Song as well, so if you're late in the battle, you've got 2 mons left, just stick Perish Song up, and if they've got 1 left, it's a dub. So I actually quite think, you know, it depends how you use it. It does pair very well with Celesteela and Sylveon. So
yeah,
bonuses, isn't it?
This is a good pick. Actually, really solid for this team. Again, Fairy Dragon Steel Core obvious here. I 100% would have gone for the Mega. In my opinion, I feel like the Mega just does a better job. The Dragon Fairy typing is a lot better than Dragon Flying, because you do have that 4 times weakness to Ice, which you gotta watch out for. But again, Celesteela can kind of cover that a little bit. This thing can be run very defensive. He gets Cotton Guard, which is a very busted defensive move, so be careful with that. Although it can set up with Dragon Dance as well. As Tui's already mentioned, it does have the ability to Perish Song you, to hit you with hazards and status conditions. So I think this is a solid pick for the team. Again, Pokemon, I would have said it probably can go a couple rounds later. But I still think it's a pretty good pick for him. And it pairs really well with both the Mons on the team, being both offensive and defensive. So, a very good pick. Next up is the New York Mets, and another predictable pick in Snorlax. Saw this thing going. Actually, something I marked off my draft board because I knew it was going to get picked by somebody before I even got a chance to look at it. So, I didn't even consider it on my team. Very defensive Mon. It kind of does a little bit of everything. I wouldn't say it's super great, but you have to see the rest of the team first before we actually can compare this thing. A normal type is a good filler mon for any spot you need. I mean, if you want to make a curse set with that, that's fine. If you want to do leftovers and like body slam for paraflinches, feel free. This thing is relatively good. It's why it's tier 2. Very tanky. Got thick fat to deal with fire and ice types, which, I mean, as of right now, it's not really that much of a hindrance, but later on, it could be. I don't really think it is, but it's an interesting pick nonetheless, and I honestly expected this from you. It's something he likes to grab, so predictable.
I agree. It's another very, very predictable pick from you, but it's a good pick. I think, you know, I knew it was going to go. It's a Pokemon I had on my list, so I would quite like that, but I don't think I'm going to get it. It's a good pick. You know, in a way, kind of covers Medicham's very poor defenses. Because it is bulky. The problem is, it's, you know, normal type. It doesn't really have much it can do. It's a good fit variant job. It can rest, stall out. In a way, that's good. But it's a tanky mon. And then the next pick is Ferrothorn, tier 1 Rodon Raticates. This actually caught me off guard when the draft was happening, because this is not at all a rain team. It doesn't fit in with Politoed and Mega Swampert, but it is tanky. It is very tanky once set up. If you let this thing set up, you have had it. It's tier 1 for a reason. I'm actually surprised it got to this far. Now I look back at this, should I have taken this instead of Mega T-Tar? Absolutely. Yes, I should have. Doesn't fit with his team, but it does cover that by being so tanky and bulky, and kind of covers for Politoed's lackluster defenses. Guess?
I disagree with you 120%. This thing is a great pick for this team. Ferrothorn, having rain with Ferrothorn is the best way to get rid of its 4 times weakness in fire. So
of course,
it allows it to sit there. And also, this is probably the best one to counter a rain team as well, because you can just sit there as a grass type and destroy everything. So I think this is a really solid pick. It is very much like my Venusaur pick, and that if you did not draft it, it is going to be a pain in the butt for your team. So I really think this is probably the solidest pick you've made in your draft so far. You didn't show your hand with this one too much, although I might have grabbed this first round, and I'm honestly surprised that this thing is still sitting here at round 3. Yes, it is a pain with the rain up, but you have to have the rain up. That's another point. Next up is the Anaheim Fennekin's and Garchomp. As I said, I already knew the Garchomp was coming. I've seen the draft. I put everything together with this, and this is a Fairy Dragon Steel Core if you want one, guys. This is just a solid team so far. Covers literally everything you can possibly think of. I would expect to see these 3 mons every single week. They do so much together as a solid unit. You have Garchomp that can run offensive, defensive, Jirachi offensive and defensive, Mega Diancie offensive and defensive. You have a team that literally can build and customize any way you want with these 3 mons. You have a full defensive team if you want, a full offensive team. You can throw mix and match in there. This thing even has a pretty decent special attack stat, so you can even make it a special attacker if you really want to. It just is a great pick for this team. Gives it probably the best Fairy Dragon Steel Core we have in this season. So overall, great pick.
I actually don't have that much to add to it. It's 3 very good spines. It's a very good spine to his team. All I'm going to say is thank God it's not Mega Garchomp, because that's terrible.
I actually would prefer it to be Mega Garchomp, let's be honest, but it couldn't be with Diancie, so.
That is true. Right, the next pick is round 4 begins. First pick is Anaheim Fennekin's again with Suicune. This is the first time he's moved away from Dragon, Fairy, Steel. And I think it's quite good. Fit with team. It's another core typing you see a lot. But it's got some versatility, got some ice type moves in there. You've even got, I think you can get Bite. It's got a good moveset. That Fireworks just made me jump. It's Bonfire Night this week. Very good pick. I genuinely think currently the Anaheim Fennekin's through the first 3 rounds, that's the best looking team.
Debatable.
Yes. Except for you.
I definitely think this is a very scary team, and by the time he drafted after the second round and he got that Jirachi, I knew exactly what he was going to do with his team. Get that Fairy Dragon Steel Core, start building a Water Fire Grass Core. And he done so well with a Suicune, which is a very tanky mon that just sits there and can really destroy a team. So a very good mon. When he does complete this Firewater Grass Core, which he does complete, he has a solid team that he can bring every single week that's going to destroy things. It pairs really great with Garchomp and Jirachi, just getting rid of the fire type weakness on Jirachi, as well as a ground type, really solid ground type weakness for the Mega Diancie and Jirachi as well. And it also covers the ice type for Garchomp. So I think it's a really solid pick for this team, and it really fits this squad very, very well. And again, as Tui said, I would probably put this as the most scary team in this league so far, including over my own, which is kind of sad, but it's true. Next up, we got Noivern on the Rhode Island Raticates. Now, I'm going to be honest, this is something I wanted to keep at the end of the draft so that way I could pick it up. But Noivern sits here. It is a very good utility mon. It's got coverage moves for days. It is very powerful and also fast. The only thing that you have to really worry about with this thing is it has a 4x weakness to ice, which so many dragon types have because they either have the flying type or they have the ground type attached to it. This is kind of interesting for his rain team. I guess Hurricane is the option here, which does make sense for this mon, but again, I think this could have been on later in the match and later in the draft, but it is a very solid pick nonetheless.
I actually agree with you. I think Hurricane was in the back of my mind. On this pick, I think Hurricane doesn't miss in rain. So obviously that was the basis. He has a solid base to his team, but as you said, 4x Wings twice. Lots of Pokemon an ice type move, even if it's Ice Fang. Not a great move, but it's still 4x weak. It will still do damage. It's a good pick. A very interesting team. I wouldn't put into the scariness of Anaheim Fennekin's right now, but it does look dangerous. The next pick is the New York Mets with Weezing. I think he's used Weezing a lot. I might be wrong, but I think he's used Weezing before. It's a good pick. Toxics obviously. But I think he gets toxic spikes and spikes.
Does. Yep.
It sets you up. You're done basically. It will set you up and it can stall you out, and it can even do explosion, so it can just go do a bit of damage and causes change. Good pick. And it does actually go quite well with his team way. I do like the looks of his team because he's not gone with the Dragon Steel Fairy Core. He's moved away from that. It's an interesting pick.
I think it also does pair well with this team. He has Psychic coverage into the Mew. He can just switch that in. They're gonna pair really well together as 2v spills everything. My
microphone has just fallen off.
Wow. I actually wanted this thing. I was hoping it was actually my 12th round pick. And seeing it go this early in the draft, I started panic here actually because my draft was going out the window, which I did not want to be like Tui, and that was sad. But I think this is a really good mon. It's good defensive wise. Levitate is a wonderful ability for a poison type. This is only weak to Psychic now, and he has Psychic coverage with the Mew. He just puts that in, and it doesn't do anything, especially if he's specially defensive or physically defensive, depending on what move you use on it. It doesn't. It can have moments where it does really good, but it also has moments where it just kind of is a wasted pick on the team. I think it's going to be used very well. I think it matches the team nicely and really adds to the team. So I think it's a good pick. It probably could have gone later. As long as it went before round 12, it was probably going to still be on the board. So that's my thought. Next up, we got the North Carolina Arcanines and Kyurem. Now, when I saw Kyurem, I was just like, do you mean Kyurem or do you mean Kyurem Black? So many people grab Kyurem Black, and I think Kyurem Black would have been a great grab for this team. But I do see the desire to grab a nice ice type in the middle. He probably sees a lot of the dragon and flying types going and thinks, hey, a nice ice type would be good. This also is a sort of another way to deal with the ice type weakness on Altaria, since it is neutral because it is a dragon type, but is resisted since it is an ice type as well. It's a very interesting mon that I really don't see much of, so I'm interested to see how it's used for this team.
I actually, in a weird way, really like this pick, to double dragon, but it's also ice, so it does deal with a lot of Pokemon, because, a lot of people have looked at this dragon type core in their teams, so that does cancel it out. It's a good pick, I do like it, and he goes with his team. He has got a very strong Fairy Steel Dragon core. That's 4 mons are dependable. That'll be able to come every week, and he's got 8 more picks to do. So it's a very good mon. And now the next pick is Infernape. At this point, I thought the league was going, Chewie's hit the panic button. And that'd be correct, I did. It's known that I like Infernape. It's known that in Season 1 I did run Infernape to some success. I like Infernape. As you can see, my team doesn't really go well together, let's be honest. It's a bit... In a weird way, this team may do well, but I'll need a little bit of luck.
I honestly think this is a good pick for you. Tui, you know how to run this mon, and honestly, for you, just getting things you're used to and you like is probably one of the best things you can do for your team. I'm actually really sad because if this thing was still around by my pick, it would have been on my team. So,
well, we did discuss trading it.
We did discuss trading it. However, I think my fire type is better than this thing, so that's why I did it. But it does have a very interesting move set that can cause coverage, like water types beware because of that thunder punch or that grass knot. It's fast, it's offensive, it's especially offensive. You can run a lot of different things with this thing. It just, can it take a hit, and that's what I'm really worried about. You don't have a lot that's going to take a hit on your team, and seeing the very offensive team versus, especially like week 1 when you see that the most offensive team in the league is coming at you, it's going to be an interesting scenario there. But I do really think it's a good pick for you. I'm glad you took it so I could get something different. But other than that, that's all I got for it.
I think, with my team, like Derby County, has absolutely no defense.
Yeah. Next up, Imploding Typhlosions and Porygon Z. Now, let's be honest. I wanted to grab a Porygon in my draft, but this thing went, and I'm like, oh, thank God he didn't grab the one I wanted. So, Z is interesting. It is a very, very interesting pick for Tekkit. I did not see this coming a mile away, if you'd ask me. But it does have nice utility as a normal type. Very solid. Can do a lot of things with the special, and its physical attack stat. I believe it gets analytics still as its ability, so it can boost attack or special attack one stage. So, count me if I'm wrong. Just don't at me. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not 100% on Porygon Z. I'm actually surprised they grabbed Porygon Z and not Porygon 2. Porygon 2 would have been such a better pick for this team in my mind. But I do think this thing still works on it, and it probably could have gone way later in the draft, but that's Tekkit. He drafts what he wants right off the top. So, interesting, decent pick.
I think what you say about Tekkit drafting what he wants is someone's Tekkit up, drafts up. He drafts what he would like. He doesn't look at his needs, drafts what he wants. Which, in a way, I do agree with you. Porygon 2, much better pick. Much better. Would have been much better. But in a weird way, I think this pick could work. I don't think Tekkit's run Porygon Z before, so it's the first time I looked at it and went, ooh. I went, ooh, that's something I didn't expect. I was expecting something which he does draft later on to come out first. My slides are just kind of crashed. But I do know the next pick. It is a Mega Lopunny to the Shamrock Ciphers. I quite like this pick. Got another good fighting type option. Wait, is Mega Lopunny fighting?
Is who what? Yeah, it's normal fighting.
I had a complete mind break there.
Yes,
another fighting type. So it's another weakness to Psychic and Flying. I quite like it's this Ciphers are looking reasonably scary, to be honest. I think, could Mega Lopunny have gone later? No, to be honest. I was a little surprised it was still here. But it's a good pick, and I'm, I won't lie, I'll be keeping an eye on the Ciphers.
All right. I don't like this pick, and the reason I don't like this pick is because I don't like seeing this Mon. It's a really good Mon, and it doesn't fit his team super well, but it's a threat, and it's a good thing. Yeah, I feel bad for Enter Mewtwo who wanted this thing because I just read that in the chat, but I think this is a interesting grab for this team. It gives them another option with the fighting type, although I don't expect to see Conkeldurr very much at all. So that's just what I see from it. Next up is the Southampton Sandslashes, and as we already know, they wanted to grab that Mega Lopunny, but they just couldn't get it. One pick away, and here comes the Toxapex. Now this is quite interesting for me. I think it, again, I don't know what you're doing under Mewtwo, but you're repairing your things very nicely this season, and I think this is a great add to your team. You've more focused on the offensive side in my mind, so grabbing a defensive Mon like this is a nice grab to your team. It does get Haze, which can be really difficult, especially as a tanky and stalling Mon, so it is a way to deal with your hazards that are going to be coming up and all that fun stuff. So I would say this is a solid pick. You're up.
Toxapex. I like Toxapex, if I'm being honest. Very, very good pick. Can store well. Very, very defensive. Is my audio all right, by the way?
Yes.
I dropped my microphone and the stand fell off. It's where it was, so I'm holding it. Very good pick. Very defensive. I actually like it. I think, if you're in a bit of a predicament, throw it out there, set up, you'll be all right. It's a good pick. I think it goes quite well with the team. I'm a fan of this pick, and the Sandslashes are actually another team that I think have drafted the first few rounds very, very well, along with you, the Fennekins, and the Ciphers. I like those three teams to draft. For whatever. Speaking of the Wingles, the Detroit Red Wingles, here is a pick I was furious about.
Are you sure?
Quagsire.
Let me just clarify. I drafted Porygon 3, but we traded for it, so this is Quagsire now. Go ahead.
It was Mew's Pokemon. I am right, it was Mew's.
Yep.
I did quite want Quagsire, if I'm being honest. As you can see from my next pick, I did want it. It's quite defensive. Gets rid of the electric type weakness, but adds times 4 to grass. Very good. Interesting move pool. Very good defensive stats. I like this pick. And to be honest, it fits your team quite well. Job done. Well done, Chaos.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. So fun fact about this pick, I actually was really destroyed when it was taken from me. I'm like, upset. I got to the point. I'm like, oh man, Quagsire is really good on my team. I wasn't expecting it to go at all because I'm like, oh, this is probably on nobody's radar, and then Mew grabs it literally right after this pick, and I'm like, oh no. So I literally like, dude, we have to trade for this, and he's like, what do you want to trade? And I'm like, I will give you what you want on my team, and he's like, Porygon 3, and I'm like, Porygon 2, and I'm like, done, no problem, done. So I think this thing really fits the team. As you can see, I picked up my second member of the Fire Water Grass Core, which is a lot of fun. I'll grab my fire type here in a minute. So, well, one of my 2 fire types in a minute. It's a really cool mon. I really like it. It has a really cool defensive capability, which, as you see with my team, we're defense boys. I think it's really fun for me, honestly, just also because I want to take this moment and talk about it. I am more of an offensive player, and seeing a defensive team coming out, it's going to be interesting this season. As I said, I wanted to not really think about what I'm bringing as much. So getting Quagsire, having a nice ground type as well, like that I didn't have, that I really needed, another solid grab for me. I really like this pick. I wish it just could have been on the board later, so I didn't have to trade Porygon. Next up is Zapdos in the tier 1 slot for the Detroit Red Wingles. And boys, here is your electric type for the ages. I needed another defensive mon. No, I really didn't, but I decided to grab this Zapdos as 2E's clanking away on his keys.
Yes.
Electric flying type. You can start seeing some interesting tech with this thing. A defensive mon, again, very stally with Roost, and can toxic you out. Also, just an interesting mon with U-turn as well, and it just got some really cool capabilities and some nice tech to it that I really want to use and really want to explore. So I've seen this thing used really well. It's been used against me in some of my off-season battles, and I really just fell in love with the thing off-season, so I wanted to use it. And by the way, this is the shiny form, just so you know.
Is it?
Yeah, you can't tell.
Actually?
Yeah.
I didn't notice.
It is. They're all shinies, by the way. I just have all the gifts for them, so go ahead.
With this pick, I was not really surprised, to be honest, because I knew you. I'd seen it on some showdown teams that you've used. I'm not surprised that you picked up. It's a good mon, but you've gone, as you said, a very, very defensive team. I would almost say it's unchaos.
It is.
It is unchaos. It's very organised and regimented, while normally you play aggressive. Because, you know, I'm sure I've done a battle that takes 420 turns. You know.
It comes with a lot of. Let me just take this real quick. It comes with a lot of off-season. I've done a lot of off-season grinding and training, so I've learned some new things. And defensive is gonna be fun. Go ahead.
You hit the gym.
I did hit the gym.
You know, it's a really actually solid pick. I'm having to admit this. I hate to admit this, but Chaos team scares me. Good. Because Chaos, normally you can bet him a good 50 quid. At some point he'll make a misclick. He'll make a mistake. But
that's sad.
You know, with this team, I don't think he will, because I think, you know, the battles of Chaos will take a few hours, so battlers do say take your time out today, because he's going to stall you out. You know, very good pick. I do like it. And was it on my radar? Yes, it was. Then my next pick is the Southampton Sandslash with Bronzong Steel. We've seen this a million times so far this draft. Steel type. Steel Fairy, and I think he does later get a Dragon, but also Sivali could be Dragon type. So he's brought that core. I quite like Bronzong. Doesn't Tech Hit normally pick Bronzong up?
I usually pick Bronzong up.
Oh, it's you, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, did you want Bronzong?
Yeah.
I can tell from your voice. Good pick. Generally, does go well this team. I quite like this Sandslash's team. Job done, well done, whoever that was. I can't remember. Is it Mewtwo?
It's under Mewtwo.
Ender Mewtwo, well done. You've got the Chewy 5 seal of approval.
Yeah, I'm a little sad that this thing went. It's on my draft board. It wasn't something I was planning on drafting per se, but it was after that. Once we got rid of that Quagsire, once that was off the board and this thing just went right off after it, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna meet my tier 3 requirements. So I was really sad to see this thing go. However, that did work out for me. It's another move. Again, this thing is very great on a team. It offers you immunities, basically. It offers you a ground type immunity if you want to run levitate. It gives you a fire type resist if you want to run heat proof. This thing's got some nice tech and coverage to it. I mean, even if you want to power up like a heavy slam, you can run heavy metal on this thing. It's got some options. I mean, a good setup for stealth rocks, and also I believe it gets it might not get an anti-hazard move, but I can't think of if it does or not. It might get rapid spin. I don't remember. But don't hold me to that. I thought so too, but I'm not 100%. But it is a really cool mon and can be run very interestingly with a lot of different tech. So overall, good pick. Could have gone later, but good pick. We got the Scythers up next with Gigalith. Interesting pick here. I think he's just trying to fill his requirements at this point. I would have probably gone for a grass type at this moment, saying that I've almost completed a Fire Water Grass Core. So, but I think it's very interesting. He doesn't really have a whole lot that pairs super well with it. I mean, the Blastoise kind of works with it, but the rest of the team is not really helpful for it. And it's going to be interesting to see how this thing is used. It can run sturdy, of course, so it has the built-in focus sash. So, I mean, I'm interested to see what it's used as and see how he plays it.
If I'm being honest, I don't like this pick in a weird way. I just don't think it pairs with his team. I think this was definitely a requirement pick just to get that requirement out. I don't think concentrate on what he wants to get. You know, perhaps there are better tiers in that tier he could have got. But it's actually, Gigalith isn't a terrible Pokemon. Stats are alright, they're not amazing, they're not the best. But it's in the middle, I would say. I do quite think, you know, it would be there later, but I do get why he went for it to get that tier 3 out of the way. Then the next pick was Tekit, who surprised me. Regice. This surprised me. Genuinely shocked me. This pairs reasonably well Cloyster and Mudsdale. I quite like this pick, you know. What tier is Regice?
5.
Tier 5 is a 10-point, very economical pick. Generally, you know what? It's very rare to say this, but I think Tekit did a good pick. I like it. Yes.
And I don't. Tekit has to get his Reggie. So I'm surprised he didn't grab Regirock. Let's be honest, he grabbed Regice. But it's quite interesting that he grabs Regice. It's something that usually goes undrafted, which I expected it to go undrafted. He picks it up. I mean, it gives you a nice special defensive wall, but I don't know what you're gonna do with this thing. Prove me wrong, dude. Prove me wrong. Bring it, and we'll see. It doesn't match up against my team at all, so bring it to me, and we'll see what we can do. Interesting pick. Nonetheless, definitely could have been a 12th round pick in my mind, so something like that. Next up is Darby Dump fans and my boy Gastrodon. Shout out to my East Coast Gastrodons Season 1 team. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate you. Like this pick. Not for this team, though. It's a really good mon. Again, gives you only a weakness to grass, but it is uber tanky and honestly can probably live a grass type move. It's finally a defensive mon, which is good for your team since you have a lot of offense. But that being said, you're starting to see the trend that happens with Tui and his teams and what causes them to be lackluster in my mind, and that is grabbing a bunch of water types. So he has a Gyarados, he has a Gastrodon now. He gets a few more water types throughout the draft that I don't quite agree with. You have 4 on your team, if I'm reading it right.
Oh god, my team is terrible.
So, you know, I don't per se like this pick for the team. I like it as an overall Pokemon. It's a good tier 5 mon to grab as a defensive wall, but with the things you drafted after this, I don't agree with it. But it's a good pick nonetheless at this point in the draft.
I actually pretty agree with you, but you know, I think, you know, if you look back at previous seasons, where it all went wrong is my little love for water types. It is known I like B-Barrel. That's a water type. So I just seem to draft water types. I think I didn't reach, and I think I got quite lucky for it to be there. I did actually want Quagsire. Thanks, Mew.
Welcome.
And later Chaos. I did want it. It's just, I do agree with you. It's just another weakness to grass. Obviously, no weakness to electric. It's a good tanky mon. It is a bit of a defense I need because my defense was as leaky as a leaky thing. It was leaky. So it's good to got a bit of defense, but I do absolutely agree with you. Later on, this mon just doesn't fit in the team. It doesn't. Let's be honest. But we'll get to that later. I think we'll move on to the next pick with the North Carolina Arcanine Zion Pill selected Mega Camerupt. Is that spelled right?
No.
There you go. Is that spelled wrong throughout the sheets?
No. It's fixed later. See what Bronzong. It's fixed later.
This is starting with Firegrass Water's core. So obviously, what Zion will have is he'll have a Steel, Fairy, Dragon, and a Fire Water Grass. That's 6 months you can be dependable on. I don't agree with it. Mega, I think, I don't think this perhaps was the best use for Mega. I think you're right, Altaria Mega would have been much better use than Mega Camerupt. I don't think anyone would have drafted it. I genuinely think this probably would have gone undrafted. I don't think it's been used in any of the seasons, so I do sadly say could have got it later. But generally, I quite like the pick.
I don't agree with this pick. I don't. It's a weird mega to get. It is a really weird mega. It is a solid Pokemon overall. I don't think it's worth a mega slot. Let's be honest. It has to be worth a mega slot because it's a mega, but I don't think it's worth a mega slot. It has a really great special attack stat. This thing is busted. I believe it's 180 or 160 special attack. It is crazy powerful, but it's gotta hit a move, and it probably isn't because it's slow as crap. And yeah. It's an interesting pick nonetheless. Like, if this thing hits an eruption, you're dead. I don't care what you are. You're dead. But I'm interested to see how it's used. I'm just gonna leave it at that. See how it's used, and I don't think it's great for the team, but prove me wrong, dude. Prove me wrong. Don't bring it against me, but prove me wrong. Next up, we got New York Mets drafting Quagsire. Although we did establish earlier that we have traded Quagsire for Porygon 2 between the New York Mets and the Detroit Red Wings. So overall, I think this is a great grab for the team. It's something that Mew always has anyway. I think he wanted it secretly, and he didn't really care for Quagsire as much. So it was a good trade for both of us, I think. Another normal type for the team gives you another fighting type weakness, although you do have the Mew and the Metachan to deal with that, as well as Weezing. So I think it fits in the team pretty well, even though it's not exactly what you drafted at this moment in time. I think it fits.
I agree with you. I do think Porygon 2 is quite a good mon. It is another weakness to fighting, but you are alright. Champ, you do sort of. I think it's quite a good pick. It fits the team quite well, supported by the team. I think this is a good pick. So we'll move on to the next pick, which is Rhode Island Radicates and Tapu Go. Electric type. Obviously, that means Thunder will be much more useful with this rain team. Fits rain team well. I like this pick. Correct me if I'm wrong, but are Tapu Kocos not commonly used in draft?
They're pretty common.
Yeah. I saw a comment in the chat. I was confused by it, but I like this pick. It fits well with the team. I bet you're going to say, "Oh, I hate this pick," but you win some, you lose some. What you gonna say?
I hate this pick.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I think this is a great pick for a rain team, but again, I've used this on a team. As I said, I've used Politoed and Tapu Koko together on a rain team before. They work really well together. They synergize really well together. But the thing is, Koko works interestingly in rain. You can run that Thunder, but you also got to be able to run that Volt Switch too. So you take 2 move slots with an Electric type move. If someone has a Ground type, you're in trouble. It does say you have a U-turn as well to switch out that way.
Big
But
trouble.
this mon doesn't have a lot of coverage, and that's why I never really liked using it. When I used it Season 2, I didn't bring it that often. I did have it, but I didn't bring it that often. And I didn't use it much in the battles it came to. So I think it's a little too predictable. It does fit the team very, very nicely. It gives you a nice electric type that you really need. But I don't know about Tapu Koko. Let's be honest, it's me. Next up, the Anaheim Fennekin's take Tornadus, and this is a great pick to get rid of the potential destruction of a rain team right now, because I do not want to see hurricanes coming from this thing. Prankster, great ability, this thing. Very, very good for setting up status. It could be a Z move user potentially down the road. I don't remember what Z crystal you got because I don't have it on the sheets, but it could be an interesting one down the road, to say nonetheless. So I think it's a solid pick. I don't see it really fitting in with the team super well, but it does a good bit of work by itself. So I guess it doesn't really need a super solid ground in the back.
With this pick, I think it's the first time we saw something different with Tornadus. I think Tornadus has been used before.
Yep.
I quite like this pick in a weird way. Fennekins still look scary. Tornadus is a good mon. It's tier 2 for a reason. I think it does go quite... Is it tier 3?
Mm-hmm.
It is tier 3. It does go quite well with this team, but I do see what Chaos says. I do agree with Chaos on this. My next pick.
Hello, sir.
Water Grass.
You cut out bad.
Portion of the team.
Did you hear me?
So obviously, it's another good type of team. I like Rotom here. I generally do.
I'm just gonna go ahead and start talking because I don't know what he's saying. So yeah.
Round, I think it is.
I don't know what you're saying because you're cutting out.
So yeah, what do you think, Chaos?
I think you cut out really bad and I didn't understand half of what you said. So exit the call and rejoin because that'll be helpful. He didn't hear me, did he? Oh boy, technical difficulties, as always happens. So we'll see if he does it this time. But as for Rotom, interesting pick for this team. You can see the fire type coming in. I think it's a solid fire type for the team. Gives you that Volt Switch ability with the move that it has, and quite interesting enough because it can be pretty useful. I don't know what happened to Tui. There he is. He's back on. But this is kind of an interesting pick to use, especially with Tornadus. You have ways to switch in and out of the battle, so that is something to note. And I really like it as a part of the team. And that Tui's PC just crashed. That's great. Alright, Tui's gonna rejoin as soon as he can, so we'll get that covered. Next up is the Rhode Island Raticates grabbing the Gourgeist from tier number, I don't remember. From tier 5. I thought it was tier 5. I wasn't sure. This is an interesting pick. Something I wasn't expecting to see grabbed. I don't understand quite why it's here. Let's be honest. I think it works for the team in some aspects, although you have a better grass type in Ferrothorn, which I kind of find it hard for you to bring Gourgeist over Ferrothorn at any point in time. So hopefully it works well for you, but it could just be something that just falls flat on its face. I don't know how exactly you're planning on using this, but have a good time with it, and it's an interesting pick. Probably could have gone later in the draft. Next up is the New York Mets and Superior. Now, this is interesting. Grabbing a Superior with this already scary team with Powerhouse and Metacham, as well as a great defensive core in the back, this could be a really detrimental team to fight, because this thing is going to be contrary 120%, and then use Leaf Storm in your face and get +2 every time. So it's going to be something you got to take care of quickly. It has a very, very, very simple move set, and the typical things it brings most likely going to be Leaf Storm, some coverage move whatever it wants to use, Leech Seed, and maybe Substitute or something like that, or Synthesis. This thing can be an absolute destruction for a team, but it also can be a Mon that just falls flat on its face. It's a good Mon for the team. I think it fits decently well. And I'm just wary to see how it does with the rest of the Mons drafted. Next up, we got the Rhode Island Raticates. The North Carolina Arcanines grabbing Torterra. Interesting pick here. Tier 5 for a reason. I don't think Torterra is a really solid Mon whatsoever. It is a grass and ground type. I mean, 4 times weak to ice, so yeah, Mew's team is hard to switch into. I agree with that. But a ground and grass type, 4 times weak to ice, adding another ice type weakness to your team alongside Altaria. I don't agree with that too much. I think you could have found a lot better of a grass type to add to your team here. Obviously, I see that Firewater Grass Core coming out. Just missing that water type that he'll probably get later. But there's so many of them that you're going to find one eventually at some point. I do believe he gets one. He does later on. But he has built this as a very interesting team. It seems a little slow to me, except for that Altaria and that Sylveon. So quite interesting to look at. I mean, you do have Leech Seed potential with this Mon, and it can work as a tank. You just got to be careful with it. So that's what I got to say about that. Next up, Darby Dom fans and Alolan Exeggutor. Okay, 4 times ice weaknesses. Another part of 2E's team that I always see him do. He drafts water Pokemon and he drafts dragon Pokemon. So honestly, you just get a solid electric, grass, and ice type. You have this team destroyed. And, you know, I don't agree with this pick whatsoever. It doesn't fit the team in any way, shape, or form. You already have a good dragon Pokemon in Dragonite. You don't need another dragon Pokemon here. And I just don't agree with this pick. I think it's something that he probably just willy-nilly picked. And, you know, it's not my favorite thing in the world to see, but, you know, hopefully it's something that does something for him later on. I mean, it is a grass type, too, so I guess you got a Fire Water Grass Core, technically. Not the best one, but you got one. Next up, the Imploding Typhlosions and Typhlosion itself. Quite an interesting pick here. Saw this one coming. I think 2E would agree with me on that. This is a common pick for Tekkit and his team. It is an interesting Mon, especially like if it gets locked into like eruptions with like a Choice Scarf or something like that. It can be scary, but it also can be defeated with Stealth Rocks and just a fast, powerful Mon that's going to hit with something that's super effective against it. It's quite interesting to see. I actually had this on my draft strategy, despite me giving it a lot of smack off the bat. Of course, I was looking for a really good fire Pokemon for a nice buck, and once I saw Tekkit was in the league, I discounted this thing and threw it off my draft board because I knew it was going to get drafted. And I really think it was an interesting pick here. It kind of synergizes with the team somewhat. I mean, you have the Regice to deal with the water type moves. You don't really have something to do with the ground type moves, and that's probably something you need to look at. So, interesting pick nonetheless, and I think it might be usable on his team for Tekkit. So, I guess solid pick. Next up, we got the Shamrock Scythers and drafting Raikou, one of the legendary doggos. Now, I'm surprised that this is the one he picked, saying that Entei is still around at this point in the tier. I feel like Entei would be a great addition to the team, giving you a nice fire type to have besides the Victini. But I also see that with the Victini that you might not want another fire type, because if you need a fire type to do something, you're probably going to use Victini anyway. So, quite interesting Mon. I'm not quite sure what it's going to be running. It does have some Psychic type coverage. It does have some Dark type coverage. It's got interesting moves. It's pretty solid Mon. It is a legendary. It is a really interesting draft. I don't think I've seen one used. It is a tier 2 Mon too. So, I'm interested to see how this is used this season. And it's probably one of those picks that caught me really off guard this season when we were going through it. Next up, we got the Southampton Sandslashes. I almost said Solgaleo, but it's a team change. Sandslashes grabbing the Mega Sceptile. And honestly, I don't know where this pick came from. I was not expecting it whatsoever. 4 times weak to ice, and you don't really have a great way to deal with that besides Bronzong. So, Maybe something that could have gone later in the draft, although I do see the point in grabbing it now as something that you need. Tubi's going to be back in a second, guys, so don't worry about that. It's quite an interesting grab, honestly. Physical or special, either way. He does have lightning rod, ways to deal with the electric types that you're going to have to deal with. And I kind of like this pick, but I kind of don't like this pick too. It's okay. It's one of the ones I question a little bit, but I can see the use of it. Next up, we got the Detroit Red Wingles, and your boy grabbing his fire type finally in Arcanine. Finally finished that fire, water, grass core with Arcanine, Venusaur, and Quagsire. And I really like this pick because Arcanine is a very fast and offensive mon, and it's something I didn't have on the team yet. I needed some offense, and I realized at this point in the draft, this is the point to grab my offense. And so Arcanine comes out as a good tier 2 mon, gets some good coverage. Chewy is back, so that is good to hear. It's got some nice coverage moves as well with the Arcanine, and, you know, it's just a fast mon that's going to be able to do some things to my team, and it fits really well. We're on Arcanine.
Arcanine. Right, Arcanine, I think that is a great pick for you, because you've got, just a moment, just quickly get down to it. You've obviously got Venusaur and Quagsire, that obviously gives you the Fire, Water, Grass combo. That's obviously nice. Arcanine's rapid as well. Very, very quick Pokemon. You know, minor drawback is that it doesn't have a bit more type coverage in its moveset. But in general, I quite like this pick. And actually, I think it goes very well with your next pick, which is Torkoal. I like this pick. It's another fire type, obviously. Does bring an extra weakness to water, but I think you cover that quite nicely with Zapdos, and Venusaur goes very well with your team. Tier 5, so I think this was just more filling of a need of the draft. Generally, very good pick. I do like this pick. Meaning Chaos only actually has one more place to fill on his necessities, but he can pick his what he wants, really. But he's actually got a very good bunch of Pokemon, and I like this pick. Chaos, over to you.
Time to reveal my hand, guys. This is a fire team, a sun team, and if you don't see that with a Torkoal, it's here. Man, I honestly really like this pick, and I really debated between getting Torkoal and Ninetales. I knew as soon as I saw the Venusaur, I wanted to draft a sun team because I know how well Venusaur does against the sun team, especially a Mega Venusaur that has thick vet. So I wanted something to pair really well with that Venusaur, and I really think that this Torkoal is a great option for the team. Now, it does mean that I have 2 fire types, and that is kind of an interesting dilemma for me when I have to make my team. Do I want to grab two fire types and take those into a battle and run Sun? Do I want to run just Arcanine by itself and not use Sun? Do I want to do a lot of different things? I don't know. You can see later on. This gives me a Pokemon to use Rapid Spin as well. That's why I wanted to grab it over Ninetales, as well as it has a potential to set up with Shell Smash. So it's really cool, and it has White Smoke as an ability too, so I could run it that way if I wanted to. It's got some nice utility, I'm not gonna lie, and I feel like Torkoal is gonna be a useful mon, and it's a mon that I've really enjoyed for the longest time, so I'm glad I finally get to use it on team. Moving on to the Southampton Sandslash. I keep almost saying Solgalios. You really just should go back. It just would save me a lot of time. But yeah. The Sandslashers pick up the Incineroar, and I'm a little disappointed in this because, you know, I like my boy Incineroar. This is actually a really good pick for your team. As I've said, you're pretty offensive, but you're starting to grab some defensive mons, and this is one of those. Incineroar is a big threat with that Intimidate ability, which is going to come because you're not going to use Blaze. But it can be very offensive. It can be very defensive. It is a good utility mon, pairs well, giving you a nice Fire, Water, Grass core, and I like this pick.
I also really like that pick of Incineroar. Goes well with the team, as you said. It's a little bit more defensive than the rest of the team. I do like it. If I'm being honest, I was a little surprised Chaos didn't pick it up in place of Arcanine or Torkoal. But you know, it's an interesting pick. Good defensively. I think it's got decent stats. Goes well with the team. I think overall quite a good pick.
Honestly, I didn't want to draft it because I had it 2 seasons in a row. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I traded for it in season 2 and then used it all season 3.
Didn't I actually? The next pick is Reuniculars. I can never pronounce that.
I mean, you did it right that time, so.
Did I?
Yeah.
Happy days. The Shamrock Cyphers picked it up. I like this pick, genuinely. Goes quite well with Victini, another psychic type that deals with fighting types, which obviously, Lopunny's got a little weakness to. I like this pick. It's got decent stats. It's got ability to put to sleep. I can't think, how, defensively it is. I can't remember its special defensive stats.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good, apparently. So, that will deal with, your dark type moves, your ghost type moves, because most of them are special. I quite like this pick. Goes quite well with the team. Cyphers with a decent pick. I wouldn't say it's the best pick, but it's a decent pick.
I actually don't really like this pick for the team. I think Victini is all the psychic type you need. I understand this is a defensive mod, and you're trying to get some more of those with like the Blastoise and Gigalith as well. But I feel like you could have grabbed a different typing for another Pokemon for the slot. Yes, it does fulfill that tier 3 requirement, which is, something that everybody needs to be doing at some point. But, I'm not 100% on this pick. It could set up Trick Room. You do have a decently speedy team as it is, so I don't really see the use of a Trick Room set as of right now. I mean, you have a lot of slow mons and you have a lot of fast mons too, so you're kind of split. So I guess you could run Trick Room if you wanted to, but that's really the only thing I see this thing really doing for the team. Other than that, it's kind of a pick that I would not see coming at all. Next up, we got the Imploding Typhlosions taking Gligar in tier 3. I'm not going to lie, I saw this one coming a mile away. He actually said he wanted to grab Gliscor, but, when you type wrong and then you change it and then you make Chaos mad because you changed it because he can't tell what you actually put, he just gives you what you put first. So, Gligar it is. Tier 3. Interesting Pokemon as it can heal with poison, so do not poison it. It's got Eviolite, making it very defensive. However, a 4 times weakness to ice is something that actually is not a problem on this team. So I think it works. I don't know if you need another ground type because really this thing is going to be Roost, Swords Dance, Earthquake, and what's the last move? Toxic. Yeah. It's not going to be a great mon, and you're going to run that way, and everybody reads you. So, dude, figure out a strategy with this thing. Prove me wrong. Have at it, but I'm not 100% sure this is a great pick for you.
I'm 99% sure Protected is an idiot and very predictable, and I'll be right. This is a prediction mapping. Had I put £1 on, I would have come back with some money on a bet if that Tech was going to take this. Tech's team is very predictable. Tech is predictable, this team. He did want Gliscor, but he's an idiot. Unfortunately.
Okay.
It's true, though. It's an alright pick. Goes well with the team. I think you are right about poison. It's alright. It does go reasonably well with the team, but I think that he could have been a bit more adventurous, shall we say. Then the next pick, I'd criticise Tekkit for being not very adventurous, and for the 3rd time in 4 seasons, I take Donphan. Don't expect it to stay long, my team. I do not like this pick. The only thing it's good for is Toxic, Rocks, Rapid Spin, and that's about it. Terrible pick. Really, really bad pick. Let's be honest. It does go quite well with my team with Gastrodon and Megatyre on top. It's just another weakness to Grass, which, Infernape deals with. Yeah, it's not a great team. Alolan Executor was a terrible pick as well, in my opinion. Although it does give me that Grass, Fire, Water. It's not a great team.
I think this is a good pick for you, honestly. It's a good mon, honestly. A tier 3 that can set up rocks, has priority, defensive mon with build and focus sash and sturdy. Got the ability to get rid of hazards with rapid spin. It's a pretty good solid pick. It doesn't pair with a lot of your team well, but that's because you drafted weird. And if you missed me talking about it last time, another thing you do is draft a lot of dragon types. So yeah,
I do like dragon.
So that's another thing I said with the last pick. But I think this is a good pick. Mascot, I would say be a little bit more adventurous. It is something you draft quite frequently, but I think it works for the team as of right now. Next up, we got the North Carolina Arcanines and Slowking. Interesting. Interesting. Honestly, I prefer Slowbro, but that does go later in the draft. But Slowking is quite interesting as a pick. Tier 4 Mon. It does have the regenerator ability, if I remember correctly. I don't 100% know that, but I don't think it's a bad pick at all. I think it's really good. Gives him the Fire, Water, Grass core that he wanted. Although it is very defensive, and I feel like you need the capability to be offensive with that core as well. So, but he does have the six core with Fire, Water, Grass, and then Fairy, Dragon, Steel. So, I mean, getting that fulfilled is interesting and good, but you got to make sure they synergize well together. And even though they have the type synergy, just the abilities and stats of the Pokemon as well have to synergize, and I just don't feel like this core does that. So, I'm not 100% on this pick, although I'd rather keep this and then trade Mega Cameron for something, but that's just me.
I personally prefer Slowbro. Definitely don't want to draft Slowking. I don't think this pick. I do agree. I don't think it synergizes well with the rest of the team. I think it's giving them the Fire, Water, Grass core. I look at it and I see what's left. I think there's better water types, to be honest. I know it's like an extra psychic type, that's just an extra weakness. Good, diverse team. I do like his team, Silence team, but I'd say this was the first one. I think there's better things. Now the next pick is Entei, New York Mets. Another quite predictable pick. I think he starts to build a Fire, Water, Grass core. I like Mew's team. Does go quite well together. Obviously, he's got Superior as well, which goes well. I don't know how I feel about this. I believe it's got good stats. Yeah, I could be wrong.
It's a legendary, dude.
Yeah, it's got good stats. I just feel, I feel it's a bit predictable, to be honest. No, I don't like this pick, to be honest. I think it goes well with Superior, but I do not like this pick, to be honest. I think it's just too predictable.
And I'm going to disagree with you because I actually really like this pick for this team. I feel like Entei is one of the underrated legendary dogs. Out of the three, it's the one that's most underrated. You always think of Raikou and Suicune, but Entei is actually a really good mon too. It is a tier 2 for a reason. The ability to put pressure on with extreme speed and just power through something with Choice Band is incredibly there and incredibly scary because this thing has a great attack stat. Also, it's got pretty good coverage and really can just take on opponents pretty well. So, I actually like this pick a lot. And we do see the Fire, Water, Grass core starting here, as Stewie has pointed out. And I think it's a good grab to pair with Superior, honestly. Next up, Rhode Island Raticates grab Alolan Muck. And I don't like this pick because I've used Alolan Muck 2 seasons and it really just hasn't done anything for me. I don't think we see this come very often at all. Honestly, I expect him to trade it away as I have pretty much every time I've used it. It does have a lot of move pool and diversity. However, it can't really be used offensively and defensively at the same time, which is what you really need it to do. Yes, it's only weak to ground, which is good, but it's not the best thing in the world. So
I do agree with you. I think it's a pretty terrible Pokemon, if I'm being honest. I think tier 2.
We need to drop it down to 2-3.
we should have dropped it down. That's next season's job. Right about that. Tier 2, 40 points. That's a lot on a mon that I don't see coming very often. I think I missed the pick, but I don't think the Gorgeist picks particularly well. I think Eradicate started out with a very nice core, but I don't think last 2 picks have actually done anything for the team. I agree with you, Alolan Muck I don't rate. I've used it in random battles. I don't like it. I don't think it's diverse enough, and I think for 40 points, that 40 points could have been spent better elsewhere. However, it does fill that tier 2 need. So in one way, good pick. In another way, I think pretty terrible pick, if I'm being honest. The next pick I like, it's Shaman for the Anaheim Fennekin's. I like this pick. It's a grass type. He didn't have a grass type before. That finished off a Fire, Water, Grass core. Obviously, he's got the Dragon, Steel, and Fairy Core. It's about 6 months. You could expect to Garchomp, Jirachi, Rotom Heat, Mega Diancie, Suicune, Shaman all the time. You can expect to see these 6 mons. Shaman's a mythical. It's a good mon. Seed Flare, it's good. You know, it's a good mon. It's a very, very good mon. I can't quite remember off the top of my head what tier it is. I think it's tier 2.
It's tier 3.
I was close. It's a good mon. 30 points, I think that's a good pick. So as you get later onto the draft, you do need to look at economizing your points and looking where it's best spent. And I think he spent 30 very good points there. Chaos.
I'm not gonna lie, this pick actually solidified this as a big threat.
Yes,
you see the power of the Fire, Water, Grass, Fairy Dragon, Steel cores. As Tui says, this is a set of 6 that can come every week. And the reason it can come every week is every single mon in those cores is able to do multiple things. And they can fill multiple roles. So I'm honestly not surprised that he grabbed Shaman. I was hoping it wasn't coming, but I kind of saw it peeking up on me. When he got to his pick, I'm like, dude, that Shaman's going to go. Because I was actually looking at it myself. I wasn't going to probably grab it, but I was looking at it myself. And I was like, he's going to grab this. It's going to go. And he picked it, and I'm like, I was not surprised at all. It is such a good grab for the team. He really has built a really solid team that every team should be fearful of. And let's be honest, this is probably the best team in the league right now.
I'd agree. I'd absolutely agree.
Big Scary. Next up, we got Dusknoir for it. And this is where I am not as worried about the team. He picks up Dusknoir in Tier 5. I think he's just trying to fill spots at this point. I don't know why you grabbed Dusknoir Tier 5. I would have personally... You have a bunch of really cool mons in Tier 5 that you can run really effectively. And he grabs Dusknoir. I don't agree with this pick. I think the pressure is kind of interesting. Quite literally putting on the pressure against your opponents. Maybe just for spin blocking with a ghost typing. But interesting to see, and I'm sure he's going to use it well, but I don't expect to see this thing very often.
You say you expect him to see it well. I don't expect to see it at all. If I'm being honest, I think he will stick to the same 6 months as I said earlier. I do agree. I think this was the first pick. I think this was the first mistake the Fennekins made. However, I do agree when you said I think this might have been just to fill the Tier 5 need. I do think you're right there. But if you look at it, he's got 7 mons that we both like. 7 mons where we both gone, that's a good team. Dusknoir, not a great mon, we'll agree. I don't expect to see it at all unless there is a team. Maybe this was in reaction to a lot of Psychic types going. We don't know.
True.
You have loads of Psychic types are gone. So maybe this was a reaction to that. I think, I don't think it's a terrible pick, but it's certainly the worst pick he's made. But the Fennekins have just absolutely solidified themselves as a powerhouse with their last few picks. And obviously, we move on to the Rhode Island Raticates, who select Hitmon top. I would say this is a tier filler. It's quite balanced, if I'm not mistaken, in stats.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't really shine. Doesn't do anything for me. I would say this is a tier filler, to be honest. Doesn't go well with the Rain team we saw. It's quite bizarre because he started off with a Rain team, and there's a guy got a Grass type. I would expect to have seen a Fire type, to be honest, but we didn't. So Rhode Island Raticate, I'll have to be quite brutally honest. Start of the draft, they were right up there for me with my best drafts. The last few picks have just not been very good, to be honest.
I can see the point in you making it the Fire type, although Fire types do not work well in Rain teams. The only one that would really work well is Rotom Heat. Rotom Heat probably is your best bet, but that was taken already. Him on top. I wouldn't say that's good. Let me just continue on with Hitmontop. Is a good mon for this team. I actually really like it as a pick. We've seen him grab it last season, and he used it pretty well. Although one misplay with it cost him his chance of the championship. Thank you, Hitmonchan. Shout out to my boy Ali. But this is a really good mon as it's nice spin blocker as a way to get rid of hazards with rapid spin. Also can be a tank. Just sit there. As Chewy said, pretty balanced stats. Can be offensive and also defensive. So I actually really like this pick. I think it's a good fighting type. Tier 4 might be a little high for it in my opinion, but I think it's still worth the money. I still think it's worth the money, and it's a good pick for the team as something he uses pretty well and consistently. Next, New York Mets, not Mewtwo. New York Mets grabbing Comfey, and I absolutely hate this mon. I like this pick, but I hate this mon. Gives him a nice fairy type for the team. Again, a healing mon can run defensive, usually seen as defensive, but we have seen it used offensively as well, and it can be quite scary, honestly, for the team. It fits well, in my mind, gives you nice utility in the back, and really just complements the team overall. I think there could have been a better mon to pick here, but, you know, this is probably going to go relatively soon in this draft, so it's probably good that you get it now.
I absolutely agree with you on absolutely every point. I think you've got that spot on.
Good.
It's an extra. It's a rare occurrence, but me and you agree. Actually, we agree on most things, but there's a few occasions.
Except for Toast draft.
My draft is terrible. Let's be honest. I like this pick. You know, I hate Comfort as a Pokemon. I hate it. I do like the pick though. I'll be interested in what he brings, because, you know, I was expecting, you know, he's got Spirit, he's got Entei. As I said, I'd expect to see a Water type selected, but he didn't on this pick. I think he selects a Water type later on, but it's a good core. I don't know what he'll bring, but it's quite a balanced team. It's reasonably balanced. So we'll move on to the next pick with Zion and the North Carolina Arcanines selecting Ursaring. I don't know how I feel about this pick, if I'm being honest. I'm not a big fan of Ursaring, so I will accept on a little bias. I don't like it. As I said, with North Carolina Arcanines, they had a good start. I've just not liked the last couple of picks, you know. I'm not a big fan of Torterra, if I'm being honest. I don't know what you said about Torterra, but I'm not a big fan of it.
I didn't like it either.
It's too slow. Let's be honest, it's so slow. Slowking's alright. Ursaring, I just think the draft started so well, and I just think Ursaring maybe isn't the right mon. You know, I guess it's a normal type. That's good for dealing with ghost types in a way. You know, you can't be attacked by ghost types, but they'll find a way. I'm not a big fan of this pick. I'm not really a big fan of using normal types in Draft League, if I'm being honest. I do like normal types in just playing the game for fun. Not a big fan of them in Draft League. Chaos?
I think this is an interesting pick. I would put it's a pretty neutral pick, honestly. It does have a really cool ability with Guts. It is a normal type, very offensive, very powerful with a good Ursaring. So I like that about it, but I'm not 100% sure how it fits on the team. I might have gone for a tier 3 or something to fill that final slot, or maybe even something higher up on the draft just so I have some better moves. This thing can come and fill the final slot on a team, though, so I see the value in the pick. It's just I'm not 100% on board with it, and, you know, it could be interesting to see, though, so it's there. Next up, it's the Darby Dawn fans and Omastar, and you're ready to I don't like this pick at all. I 100% hate this pick.
Dude, I agree with you.
I love Lord Helix, guys. I 100% love Lord Helix. It's a good shiny. It's a great mon. It's just not good for this team. Again, another water type. That is the third one. And a rock type nonetheless to give you 4 times weaknesses to grass, as well as your Dawn fan that's already weak to grass too. It's just, it doesn't fit this team. Your Mega Tyranitar is also weak to grass. You have a lot of grass type weaknesses. And as I said earlier, you can just get a solid electric type, a solid grass type, and a solid ice type, and you can run through this team. You just, it's not a good team. And this is just not a great pick for it. This is just really just hinders the team a lot. I mean, it does have the shell smash potential. That's about it.
What I was thinking. That's the only, I think, same grace for Lord Helix in this case. I'll be quite bluntly honest with myself. I looked back and this is one of the picks on, ooh, yeah, no. I like Shell Smash with it. That's what I was thinking. But it just doesn't fit the team. I'm not really sure it's a great Draft League mon, if I'm being honest. You can correct me, man. I wouldn't use it in Draft League, but as you can see, there's a lot of regrets on my team. It's another water type. It's another 4 times weakness. This was a terrible pick. I will say, hand on heart, I think this might be in the top 3 worst picks. It does fill a need, so that's one thing. But it is top 3 terrible picks for me, if I'm being honest, Kels. Do you agree with me on that?
I like it as a mon. It's just not for this team.
I do agree with you. On to pick number 69 of the draft.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I can work. I've done maths. There's one tile sheet. And the Employment Typhlosions selected Cresselia. This was a bizarre pick, if I'm being honest, and this did lead to issues for Tekkit down the line already with numbers. He didn't feel I needed tier 1. I like Cresselia as a mon. You know, I think they're better psychic types. I think it's tier 2.
3.
Oh god. I think there's better things that, you know, does give a psychic type which he didn't have before, but does it go overseas to an extent? Yeah. It goes well, Gligar, but I don't like the pick, if I'm being honest. It's a rare occurrence of Tekkit being unpredictable because I did not expect this.
I didn't expect this either, but I think it's a really good pick for his team. I think he took a book out of my playbook. I've used Cresselia before. It is a very good tank. It is a good psychic type that he didn't have before. It kind of pairs with that Beedrill pretty nicely. It does have Levitate. Yeah. Does get rid of that ground type weakness that he has abundance on his team. Well, Gligar also does that, but I don't like the Gligar pick. I definitely think this is a good mon for him. It's defensive. I think he saw me use it one season and maybe wants to run it the same way. But I mean, hey, if that's how you got to play and learn how to do draft, that's how you play and learn and do draft. This is a solid pick for this team. I probably like this as, I don't know, this would probably be my favorite pick of this team, let's be honest. This would probably be my favorite pick of the team in general. Moving on, we got it's my turn to go, right? Yeah, it is.
It is yours.
Next up is Shamrock, Scythers, and Nidoqueen. So Nidoqueen is a bit lackluster in Draft League in my mind. It fits every role, but it fits no role. It's a jack of all trade, master of none, and that is why, like, I've used Nidoqueen in the past, and I've drafted Nidoqueen in the past, never used it, and so I traded it away. I think it's interesting for the team. It gives him the ground type that pairs pretty well. A poison type 2 gets the ability to use toxic spikes and things like that. But that being said, interesting nonetheless, and you know, I want to see if he's going to build it more defensively or more offensively when he brings it to the game. So it's something I'm very interested to see how he uses.
With your comments about Master Jack of all trades, Master, I agree. I've used Nidoqueen in Season 2.
Yeah.
I think. I might be wrong. I might be completely wrong.
So, yeah. I believe so.
I didn't like it. I won't lie. I don't rate this pick. Does it go with it? It doesn't really go with a team either. You know, the Ciphers actually a really nice looking team, but you know, we've got a fire type, we've got a water type. We just need a grass type. You know, if you look at it, there is, like, particularly if you look at my team, if you have a grass type, you're running through it. Like, let's be honest. Right now, you need to be looking at a grass type for more balance. I think it's just another. It's similar to Gigalith in a way. I think Gigalith. I'd rather have Gigalith than Nidoqueen, if I'm being honest. And my next pick is the Southampton Sandslash. Please change your name back because it's confusing. Basically, like Rotom in a pick that I bizarrely like. It's an electric type. You know, that's quite a core type to have. It's nice to have because a lot of teams do run flying types, there's water types. I like this pick. You know, decent stats. It's tier 4.
Yep.
So you know, it's not the best. It's a good pick. I do think I'll be interested to see how the Sunslashers do with this pick. I do quite like how the Sunslashers team is shaping up. I do like this pick in a way. I think I do like their Mega Sceptile. Didn't get to comment, but I do like that pick. Do you like it?
I like Rotom as a pick for this team. I just like a Rotom form as a pick for this team. The regular Rotom is not my favorite grab. I definitely think the Rotom Mo was still on the board at this point, so I think a Rotom Mo would be really good, giving you that Fire Water Grass core. Really pairing well, giving you another tier 3 mon to fit that final priority slot. And just the regular Rotom, I feel like Crocodile is going to outshine this thing and really make this a niche bring when you really need an electric type. So maybe versus the Darby Dawn fans, which is that big weakness to electric type since they have a bunch of water types. That could be a good place to bring it. But other than that, I don't really care for this pick too much. I think the grass, adding the Rotom Mo, or maybe even getting like a Rotom Frost or something like that would have been a better grab. I can see the use of ghost typing with a lot of the psychic types that are out there as well. Maybe this is a bring for the New York Mets. But it's just an interesting pick. And, you know, I'm interested to see how you use it. So shout out to you for using something interesting and new.
Yeah.
Next up, my team and the power, the boy Rhydon. Shout out to the one I found earlier today. This is a absolute. I don't know. This is an absolute unit. This is literally the Dave of my team right now.
It is a Dave, isn't it?
It is a defensive tank. It is an offensive powerhouse. I really like it. It is a good mon, especially with the Eviolite put on it as well. It doesn't have to run Eviolite even. It just got good stats. This is one of the middle stage evolutions that I like a lot more than its final evolution. Like, I will always choose a Rhydon over a Rhyperior every single day. And it gives me a nice... I mean, yes, it does have 2 4x weaknesses in water and grass. But if you notice, with the Sun team, that's not really going to be an issue because I have mons that are going to take care of it, aka my fire type, and for the grass types, and then my Venusaur for the water type. So I'm not too worried about bringing this thing at all, and I think it's going to be a really cool mon. It has a lot of potentials to be run. Like, you can run Band, it can run Scarf, it can be set up with the Eviolite. Like, it's got a lot of potential, and even it could be a rock setter too. So I think it's got a really good diverse move pool and good utility on this mon. So it's a good, interesting pick that I've wanted to grab for a couple seasons now.
With what you said about, utility, I absolutely agree with. I think this is a good pick. When I saw this pick come through in the Discord, I was a bit surprised because I thought Arcanine, Torkoal, Quagsire, you've got a few of the same types, which are weakness. You've got Grass with Quagsire and Rhydon, Water with Arcanine, Rhydon, and Torkoal, and I thought, that surprised me, but you are right. Rhydon is tanky. It is bulky. It will take a hit. I think it has sturdy as well.
I believe it does too. I don't remember though.
And you can sash it if you want to.
Yep.
It's a good mom. I am interested to see how you do it. I think there are certain teams, like for example, like in my team, I just don't think bringing Rhydon would work.
Bet.
My water team, my pile of rubbish.
You don't know that.
I do. Well, I think I've spoiled myself. I do like this pick in general, because you do cover it well, and it does go well for your Sun team. I do like this pick. The next pick is a striker. Fair play to you, mate. I didn't expect this. We've worked together for a number of years now, and even I didn't see this coming. I thought, was that Zapdos, you wouldn't go for another electric type. This is tier 5, I believe.
Tier 4, I believe. Yeah, 4.
How can you know your tiers off by how it's like 100 Pokemon?
I'm looking at the sheets too. But I just sort of know where everything is because I made the tiers multiple times in a row. So
yeah. I like this pick. Flame Charge goes well with the Sun team. Gets extra power. Also boost speed. I think this pairs quite well. If you bring this against my team, you're gonna have quite a bit of success. Let's be honest. I do like this pick, but I think it's risky. I think Zebstrike is a risky move because it's got wild. What's the move?
Wild Charge.
Wild Charge. That's it. It's risky. That brings recoil. It definitely gets takedown. It's risky, but I will say, if anyone's gonna be able to get the best out of it, I do think it's you, and it does go well with your team. I do like the pick, and so far, I would say you and JJ have definitely been the smartest with your drafts.
This is a very, very interesting pick for me, and
it is.
I honestly, when I first started the draft, Zapdos was not the one I was grabbing, so having Zebstrike in the back was my only electric type. But I still think it's useful because I needed something that's going to be fast and something that's going to hit like a truck. And that's why Zebstrika fits my team really well. It has a lot of coverage moves, can do a lot of things. It also gives me that utility to pivot out with Volt Switch. It's just an interesting mon with a great bit of coverage that can do a lot of weird things. As Tui did say, it is a risky play. Yes, I could potentially just throw this thing in and get it destroyed. But, I think we have a strategy for this. I don't know if it comes week 1. I kind of want to bring Rhydon now just so I could prove Tui wrong. But we'll see what happens week 1. It could be a bring. It could not be a bring. It just depends on what it needs.
So I'm good.
So we'll see what happens. And I think it's an interesting pick. Looking back on this pick, it's one of the ones that I question a little bit. I'm not 100% sure with Zapdos as well, if this was a smart idea. But knowing that what I was going to draft and getting this, it's a good grab for me. Next up, Southampton Sand Slashes. Getting my boy Lucario, dude. I'm not bitter about this at all. It's a good mon. It's a really good pick for this team. I recognize that like Bronzong and Lucario kind of double over each other. I think I've used both in the same season, but they can fill different roles, and that's the point. 2 steel types, not my favorite thing in the world. You do have the heat proof with the Bronzong, so that is a way to deal with fire type moves as well as Incineroars there. But you have to worry about that ground type moves because honestly, it does damage to most of your team, and you really don't have a way around it. So it's an interesting pick. Again, something that can be run with usually Band, Scarf, Specs. Could also be a good defensive mon if you want to run Assault Vest with it, but it's an interesting pick nonetheless, and honestly something I did not see this being taken by this team. So I mean it's interesting to see what it does, honestly.
I think it's an interesting pick as well. I think this was a pick that caught me off guard. I didn't expect it, with Bronzong also being steel. I think you're right. Bronzong being heatproof covers it, but ground types will wreck this team. I mean, you've got Rotom being levitating ghost. That's alright. You got Mega Sceptile, which covers that quite well. And at the end of the day, you have got Savali and Toxpeck, so you do cover it in a bit. I do like this pick, and I do agree with you, Assault Vest. I just think for a better tier 3s, this covers a need well. You get your tier 3, and I think generally, good pick. I'm interested how it goes. And then on to the next pick. A pick that I'm still rubbing my head about. Tangela. The Shamrock Cyphers. I do not like this pick. Defensively fragile. It is a fragile mon. I know it's got some powders. Have I just got that completely wrong?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Tangela's got terrible defenses, doesn't it?
Just keep going.
I want to know the answer now.
It's got really good defenses.
As it turns out, I can't remember Tangela very well because I've never used one. As it turns out, it's got great defenses. It's a 10-point purchase, and I don't know, but I still don't know about this pick. I just don't. It's got the powders, which I like, but I'm not convinced. I will say, it gives it a grass type, which is something this team did need, as I mentioned with the last pick of Nidoqueen. It's 10 points, so at the end of the day, it doesn't cost much. I'm not convinced, though. I don't care what you say. I'm not convinced.
It's a great
pick. I think one. If you put an eruption to it, that's going down.
I don't know.
That is going.
Depends on what it's from.
Right. Let's take. Let's scroll up. Your Mega Camerupt.
Oh, yeah,
if that gets hit, if that gets hit, one eruption, that is dead. I'm not convinced by it. And I don't think I ever will be, no matter what Kev says.
All right. This is my boy Tang. I love Tangela. It's such a good mon, and I'm so happy someone drafted it. It's great. I love this pick. I 100% love this pick. It fits the team so nicely. Tangela giving you a... I don't even know if I put this on the right... I don't think I put this on the right team. Oh, yeah, I did. It's right. 100% right. I saw Victini, and I'm like, wait. But it's right. It fits well with Blastoise and Victini. It gives you another defensive bond, so it makes me believe that Victini is going to be more offensive. But this thing with Eviolite, Leech Seed, even putting things to sleep, having Synthesis as well, this thing is going to be interesting. And I think it's a really good tier 5 grab. Fills that Fire Water Grass core nicely. And shout out to my boy Tumbleweed, dude. Spaghetti. Don't mess with Spaghetti. Next up, Tekkit, Beasting, and the Imploding Typhlosion's grabbing Cofagrigus. If anyone was going to grab this thing, it makes sense that Tekkit does, in my opinion. It's something I kind of expected to see. I like the Mummy ability on this thing. I think it could be run really well. And it's a good grab, although you already have a tier 4, so maybe grab that tier 1 spot that you didn't get because you forgot.
He's an idiot.
But I think this is a cool mon. It's very defensive, can sit around for a while. And I honestly like this pick for this team. I don't know how Tekkit's going to use it, but I think it's solid.
I like this pick for this team. It fits well with the team. Mummy's ability, I think, is one of the best competitively. As I said, should have filled tier 1, but he's an idiot. I do like this pick, and I did want Cofagrigus. I did want it. And I might try and trade for it, but I can't confirm or deny. I do like that pick. So we'll move on to Rotom Mo. Ooh, it's a grass type, so it's not weak to water, to grass or electric. But we've already got a grass type, an Executor. I think I'll hand on heart say this. It fills a need, and that's kind of what I needed. It's just not a great. I like Rotom. I think Rotom Frost might have been a better course of action, to be honest.
Interesting. Interesting pick nonetheless for me. I definitely think this would be better on a different team, but I do kind of like it in this spot as well. It gives you a way to pivot in and out of a situation. The only thing I don't like about the Rotom forms is they're very predictable in their movesets, and I think that's not going to be something that's going to be great for this team. It does give you that ability to get rid of the ground type weakness that you have on things like Infernape, Tyranitar, but it also doesn't really need that because you have Gyarados and Dragonite. So I don't think it synergizes well with a lot of the team. However, you have a potential to have a nice, solid core here. It just depends on what you get rid of. So
I think
that's just what it does.
What it doesn't synergize.
Next up, North Carolina Arcanine grabbing Magnezone, and I do not like this pick at all. This is a really bad pick, honestly. I love Magnezone. I think it's a good mon. I just think it's really bad for this team. You have Celesteela. You do not need another Steel type. You absolutely do not need another Steel type. It's a powerful mon. It's slow. You already have a slow team as it is. I would focus more on some power and some speed in your tier. This is... I mean, yes, good mon, just not with Celesteela. One of the two is coming every week, most likely, but it just depends on if you want to run like support utility with Celesteela or if you want to run offense with Magnezone. I can see that, but it doesn't pair well with really anything as long as that Celesteela is sitting there too.
I absolutely agree with you. This is genuinely a pretty horrendous pick. I mentioned it quite a few times now. Zon's draft is a disappointment to me. I would say it's up there with mine, but not great. And Tekkit. It started really strongly, but as you said, Celesteela, Magnezone, one or the other. And to be honest, Celesteela over Magnezone. He should have selected a tier 3. And, you're right, he needs speed. This team, Celesteela, slow. Kyurem, slow. Torterra, really slow. Camerupt, slow. Slowking is in the name. And a Magnezone is just another really slow mon. And if I'll be honest, it's just not a good mon. He should have picked something a bit quicker. Although Sylveon and Altaria are reasonably quick, they're not, the fastest. So it's just a disappointing pick, shall we say. The next pick was the New York Met with Granbull. Fairy type now. I quite like this pick. Another fairy type. I think, I like the picks. I like Granbull. But I think it could have been, I think there's another need on this team. You've got Mew, you've got Comfey. I think you could do something else with that spot. Good, reasonable stats, but I'm not a big fan of this draft pick, if I'm being honest. Chaos?
The only thing I see useful with this thing is its Intimidate ability. And I think that's a good thing to have. Although, with Comfey, it's probably going to be one or the other. And I honestly expect to see that Comfey pretty frequently. So I'm interested to see what this does. I don't doubt that Mew's going to use it to some kind of use that's going to be unthought of or catch somebody off guard. But I just don't. I think, as Tui said, something better could have fit this spot. Next up, Rhode Island Raticates and Alolan Persian. This thing really needs to be a higher tier because it freaking sucks because it's just so fast. And I actually like that for the team. He has a really slow team despite a lot of the things that he has. I mean, Noivern pretty much was his speed. And Noivern and Coco were his speed. But, in Rain Swampert's going to be useful, but you got to get Rain up again. This is good mon, a good lead mon for your team. Going to come in pretty much against anything. It can use Parting Shot, lower special and physical attack as it leaves. So it's interesting pick. I think it fits the team nicely, but there's some other things on the team that I question it being with. Like, for instance, like that Alolan Muck and the Gourgeist. I don't really see the use of all three of these on the same team. And, I feel like the Lothal Persian was the better grab of those three. So I like the pick for the team, but it doesn't synergize super well with everything else.
I absolutely agree with you on this pick. I do agree with Gorgeist, Lowland Persian. I think Lowland Persian is the one out of the three. Good pick, very, very quick parting shot, very good. Genuinely, I think that mate has improved his team massively because his team was slow. The team was slow. Swampert and Farrathorn are very slow. So it is an improvement, and I do quite like this pick. So we'll move on to pick number 81 off the draft at Anaheim Fennekin Select Machamp. I don't know how I feel about this. It's a fighting type, something that wasn't on his team before, so it's a nice little bit of type coverage. And I think from that point of view, that's quite a bonus. I don't really see where it synergizes well, but as I said earlier, I don't actually expect to see it that much. I genuinely believe we'll see 6 Mons for 8 weeks, for 9 weeks. I think we'll see the same Mon 6 times. As many as you can. I don't think we'll see much of Machamp. Which I question why selected Machamp, because he could have picked a tier 4 and finished the requirements. That's one of those things.
For this Machamp, I actually kind of like this pick. It's a fighting type that a lot of people don't suspect. And the one thing that I'm really worried about with this thing is 100% accurate Dynamic Punch. It's pretty fast as it is. And with No Guard as its ability, it's going to hit every time. But you also have to worry about the give and take with No Guard, and being that you might also have to deal with a potential something else that wouldn't hit, like a Hurricane hitting you. So, interesting pick nonetheless. Probably not the fighting type I grabbed for this team, but I still think it fits nicely. And it's going to be an interesting grab and interesting pick. Again, not probably coming super often, but it could be something that throws in a couple surprise kills in the season. Anaheim Fennekins, this is why they didn't draft something in Tier 4 to me. They have Cryogonal, which is probably the best rapid spinner in the league. One of the most sought-after rapid spinners. It is fast, it is defensive, and it also has rapid spin. It's a good ice type, honestly. Not many ice types get drafted, but this thing actually kind of fits. Despite it looking like a snowflake, it can kind of take some shots occasionally. Like, depends on what you run with it, but I kind of like this pick for the team. It fits well another Pokemon type he doesn't have with the Ice type. Gives him a little bit more coverage for some things. And I think it's a good pick.
I absolutely agree with you. As it turns out, I'm an idiot. And he did select Tier 4. I completely forgot he was on the clock afterwards. I like this pick. It is probably the best Ice type. Yeah. One of the best.
One of the best.
It's definitely the best rapid spinner, though. Absolutely spot on there. I do like this pick. It's another type of, as you can see with the Fennekins, unlike my team, has a lot of different types. Very balanced. Which adds a sense of unpredictability to it and very hard to prepare for. I do think JJ and the Fennekins have had a very, very successful draft thus far. And we'll move on to the Rhode Island Eradicate with Armaldo. If I'm being honest, I don't know how I feel about this pick. It's a bug. Rock type. It's slow though. It's another very, very slow Pokemon. Actually, it's just crashed. That's just crashed. I don't know how I feel about this. I think it's got some good moves like Rock Blast. Don't really know much about it. Its defenses, I think, quite high. Do correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm just not gonna say anything.
I don't like this. It's another Pokemon. I'm not a big fan. I think it's got some bonuses to it, but it's just slow, isn't it? It's not slow at all, is it?
It's interestingly slow. It's pretty slow.
Yeah.
For this pick, I think it kind of just is. It's a little out there, but I think it fits the team, which is good. As Chewy said, it gives you a bug type, which is good for the psychic types that we've seen before. So, interesting. Although, I don't like it on a rain team because I feel like it's going to just get destroyed. That's the only issue I have with it. It is a good offensive mon as well. But with that rain team, I just don't agree with the pick. Any other team, fine with taking it, but not with rain. Next up, we got Lapras. You finally finishing off that Fire, Water, Grass core in Gremlin Lapras. And we all know this thing is a tank, and it's got good coverage, psychic, electric, like it's got a lot of utility to be used. And I think it works well with the team. It fits interestingly in that Fire, Water, Grass core as the defensive Mon, which most likely the water type fills because, fire and grass types aren't the best defensively as with the typing. But I feel like this fits pretty nicely. It gives him an ice type as well, something to deal with a lot of the dragons that are flying around out there. So I don't really have anything bad against this pick. I think it works, and I kind of like it.
I think Repsol Spawn, it does fit in a very nice way with Superior and Ante. It does fit that trio very well. It does have amazing type coverage with this moveset. I like this pick. I think we used him very, very well. Obviously, filled all of his needs with the draft requirements, so can pick what he wants within point boundary. I like this pick, if I'm being honest. Really good pick, if I'm being honest. Especially quite late in the draft. It's a tank, and it's pick number 84. Very good pick. Pick number 86, the North Carolina Arcanines selected Venomoth, completing their draft requirements, which I think is the purpose of this pick. Adds bug, which responds well to psychic types, which we've seen go throughout the draft. In a way, I like this draft. It is a little frail, but it adds a bit of speed. It's not the quickest, but it's quicker than most of his team, which is what we need. And in a weird way, I quite like this pick. I'll be interested how Zion does with it.
So, fun fact, this actually was a pick after the draft because Zion missed his tier 3 slot. So this is something I had to come back and get. So it is 100% the way to fill that final slot. Again, yeah, it is fast and it can be powerful. The only thing is, it can only be fast and powerful if it sets up Quiver Dances. Like, if you're not +2, with Quiver Dance, this thing is dead. It's not a great Mon. Really just kind of fills that slot for me. I don't think we see it much. Yes, it is a bug type, but as long as the psychic type outspeeds it, it's going to get destroyed because it is a poison type as well. And I like how it fits on the team. It's interesting, and also it's just kind of a last minute thought. So whatever.
Yeah, it was.
Next up, Darby Dawn fans picking up that slow bro. As I said, I like this pick on any other team.
Yeah,
I don't like this pick on this team because it's another water type. Although it does give you a psychic type, so I guess that kind of helps. It is a tank. It does. I do think it has regenerator as well, which can be useful. And it's a pretty interesting Pokemon nonetheless. It's a good defensive tank. It fits the team sort of okay. There's too many water types. That's the only issue I have with it. But other than that, it's a good pick.
I like the psychic type, but the water type is a bit of an issue. As you have pointed out, I made a bit of a mess with my draft. I don't like this pick, if I'm being honest. I really don't. I look back at it and go, ooh, is there a few better Pokemon I could have got? It's actually a good Mon, but as you said, on any other team it would work. This team, no. However, I would say this is probably better than Omastar, to be honest. Not my worst pick in the draft, but up there. Then we move on to the Southampton Sand/Slashers who select Ride-Bomb B. I like this pick. Very, very quick. Like with Quiver Dance, you can do quite a bit with this. It's another fairy type. It's a bug type, so obviously quite a few bugs go out in the last couple of rounds. I like this pick. Does go well with the Sand/Slashers team. I like this pick, if I'm being honest, guys.
I just want to point out at this point in the draft there are some picks that are out of order, which is because people missed their draft pick. So the reason like Tekka didn't have a pick this round is because he missed his pick. So I like this pick type wise, but stat wise I don't like this pick. Yes, it is fast. It's something he could use on the team with a relatively slow team and relatively slow and fast team. He's got a potential for a Trick Room there with that Bronzong. But I don't like this Pokemon in general. It is very, very frail, as Tui's already pointed out. And I've used this already one season, and it just doesn't cut out the job. It is not as powerful as you need it to be, and it's really weird to fill a slot. But I think it works for the team, and if you want to set up Quiver Dance with it, go ahead and be my guest. Next up, Detroit Red Bengals picking Gardevoir in Tier 3. This fills the final tier 3 slot for Chaos's team, my team. And honestly, this was not something that was on my draft board whatsoever until I got to this point in the draft. Because everything, by the time we got through my Zeb Strika pick, everything I wanted on my draft board, all like 30 mons that I had on my draft board were taken. So, yeah, it was an interesting time trying to scramble with these last couple picks, trying to figure out what I wanted. It has been since season 1 since I've used Gardevoir on my team. Although I feel like this is the best fairy type I had left. I didn't really need the psychic typing on it, but I feel like Gardevoir gives me a nice middle ground play as a mon that can do a lot of different things. But it also feels that fairy type that I really needed to solidify my team, giving me a little bit closer to my Fairy Dragon Steel core. I don't think I quite pick up a Steel type, but I have an interesting core with these two, with it and Latias. So both weak to dark though. That's a thing I'm gonna work on. But I still think this mon has a nice utility in its coverage, and honestly, it can be played support if I want to do that. So it's got some moves that it can show.
I do like this pick actually. You know, I've liked pretty much all your picks. I would say this is one of the most least one. I do like how you can use it in many different forms, and I think that's a bonus. But pretty much all your team is that you can run it in different ways, and you can't. It's actually quite hard to predict. I think generally it's a good pick. I do like the type coverage it gives, and it gives different forms. Also, fills a requirement, and that's obviously very, very important, because otherwise the team would be illegal. And on to the next pick, which is also a Detroit Red Wingles, Hitmonchan. After some playoff heroics last year, it is back. I like this pick. You know, you didn't have a fighting type, needed one. It's a good pick, to be honest. You know, it's got all the punching moves like Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, Ice Punch. 3 good moves, gives type coverage. I like this pick.
This actually was not the fighting type I wanted to draft.
Did you want Hitmon top?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
The one I want is still available, but I wanted Hitmonchan because I felt like having the coverage on it is better than having what my other pick could be. Now, I could still trade it out later in the draft, but I couldn't leave my boy Hitmonchan out there if he was still on the board. I said, if Hitmonchan's there in the 10th round, well, I guess this is the 11th round. If Hitmonchan's there in like one of the last couple rounds, I'm going to draft it because it gives me another Rapid Spinner. It gives me a nice defensive utility mon that, again, can put in the work when it needs to. And I just really think this is going to be an interesting play for my team and something that I like to use, and I've used pretty well last season. So I'm like to see this thing back. We got Southampton Sand Slashes.
The Soul Slashes.
The Soul Slashes. With, I mean, it might slash our soul, you never know. With Archeops, and boy, let me tell you what. I don't like this Pokemon, but I also don't like this Pokemon because it can be actually really good. This mon has Defeatus, which is like the worst ability in the game, and that's why it is tier 5, because this thing gets hit below half attack and half defense. So not a great ability for this mod, but it can put in a lot of work before that point. So I'm interested to see how this works. It obviously gives a cool flying type, another way to get rid of the ground type weakness from this team that we see quite a bit of, and I'm interested to see how Ender Mewtwo uses this. So,
if I'm being honest, I don't like this pick purely because of Defeatist. I think, you know, it can do work before, but as soon as Defeatist goes in, it's curtains for it. I wouldn't want a mon that can only work half the time. I would want a mon that works all the time, and that's my only issue with this mon. Obviously 4 times weak twice. It is an issue, but I will be interested to see how the Sand Slashes deal with this issue.
It's actually neutral to ice.
Is it?
It's rock and flying. Rock is resistant, and flying is weak to it. So it's neutral.
It is, yeah. I do apologise. The next pick is Regirock. I'm interested to see how the Shamrock Cyphers do this. You know, it's a very, very slow Pokemon, as on I think all the Regis.
Yes, pretty much.
They're all very, very slow. You know, tanky, very tanky. But I think, you know, it's a good pick because I think it gives some power. But I think that speed really can kill it a bit, you know, if I'm being honest. Chaos.
Yeah, I like this mod. as a pick. I used it, I think, season 3. So, very defensive mon, can be run really well with Assault Vest, and that gives it a good option. Could also be a leftovers mon. But I don't like it on this team purely because Gigalith is there. They're the exact same typing. They do the exact same role. And I honestly think that getting rid of one or the other would be a better play. I'm actually surprised that Regirock lasted this long and Tega didn't grab it instead of Reg Ice. But I don't know exactly what this pick is going to be doing for the team. I mean, Regirock is a tank, as has been said, but there is some ways to deal around it. And I'm interested to see how it's used this season. Next up, Imploding Typhlosions, grabbing Tangrowth. So this actually wasn't what he grabbed, but Teka didn't fulfill his tier 1 requirement, so he had to get rid of Mons. He actually drafted a Gudra and a Scavalier in the draft, which you won't see on the team because he had to get rid of them to grab 2 other Mons, and this is one of the ones that filled the requirement. So I don't really care for this pick that much. Of course, this is a pick after the draft is already completed, so there's not a whole lot of tier 1s out there for him to grab. I do see the grass typing giving him a nice little bit of coverage there and a new typing that he didn't have on the team. Although I feel like Tangrowth, though it is tanky, it is not the right mon for him to grab in tier 1. And agreed. I honestly think that maybe a Tangela would have been better at this point than a Tangrowth. But, you know, he can do what he wants.
Take it will be take it. I agree. This is obviously a pick to fill requirements. It's obviously important when we do mention that we did have people drop out during the draft. So Pokemon, I think some Pokemon got drafted twice.
Yes.
Obviously annoying because some of our draft plans went completely out the window. But I think Tekkit picking Tangrowth, that's purely on Tekkit being a bit of a silly billy. I don't like this pick. I don't care for it, to be honest. It was clearly a pick for needs. I wouldn't say it just, for me, doesn't. His team, yeah, he's got a fire type, he's not got a grass type, and he's got a water type employed, so he does have that. But I don't see him doing much with Tangrowth. And on to the next pick, your Derby Down fans don't select a water type. It's Beware. I think I had Beware on my team 2 seasons ago.
Season 2.
Don't think it did very well. I like Beware as a Pokemon. I really like its move, and I like how it's normal fighting. I do like that. But it gives me a fighting, which I didn't have before. But, oh no, sorry, I didn't feel it. I'm talking rubbish. This pick's terrible. It's just dawned on me, this pick is actually worse than some of my other picks. Oh no.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh no, you don't need to say anything, this is a terrible pick. Let's move on.
Alright. But where I actually like this pick, I think it doesn't pair well with the Verdict. That's the only thing I don't like with it.
My team's so bad.
But it does have, as Stewie says, it does have some good coverage. So I kind of like that about it. I think it is an interesting grab. Something that Tui's probably going to trade away now, as he's probably trading every week. But, you know.
What you've just seen is a man realize, oh no, big mistake.
Yeah. I think it's a good mon, though. I think it fits the team better than some of the other things you drafted.
Yeah, my team's terrible, let's be honest. We're both in agreement on it.
Moving on to the North Carolina Arcanines, we got Glaceon. I am very interested in this pick. Yeah. I never expect to see a Glaceon go. It is a very interesting ice type to have. I don't quite agree with it. It is for an evolution. It is it's weird. It's got weird stat distribution for an ice type, and I'm not 100% sold on this pick. I think it fits the team. It gets rid of another potential ice type mon that could come and destroy his team, but I don't know how I feel about it. And I mean, maybe he got it just for Tui's team. I don't know. We'll see.
I actually bizarrely do quite like. I like Glaceon as a Pokemon. I do. It's known I am a little bit of a fan of Glaceon. And I think it is to, you know, take a nice type and give a bit of type coverage. Awesome. I do like the pick. Adds a bit of speed to assume which it was desperately needed. You know, and on to the next pick, we've got the New York Mets selecting. I like Scizor. Steel, Bug, bit of an issue 5 times a week. It's another Steel type, which I don't think he has.
No, he doesn't have one.
He didn't have a steel type, so that's a good thing. Adds a bit. So it's a good thing, but it is 4 times weak to fire. It is a risky. Good attacking, good speed as well.
No, it doesn't have good speed.
Is it not?
No, it's really bad actually.
No.
It's like 35.
Sizzle doesn't have good speed. Leave me alone. We've been streaming for about 4 hours now.
Yeah. I don't like this pick as well as I would have liked this pick if it was the Mega Scizor. I think that would have been a great grab for the team. It does have access to Bullet Punch. It does give him gives him a Steel type to have on the team. Again, that is 4 times weak to Fire, which, I mean, you got the Entei to deal with the Fire type weakness, sort of, but I don't know about this pick. I think it fits well. It's a cool mon nonetheless, so, use it well and have fun with it, my friend. Rodon Eradicate, select Espeon. Now, this is something I actually looked at my draft board, so the only reason was because it was going to be my replacement for Sableye, but I actually got my Sableye, so I was happy about that. Espeon's kind of interesting. It does give him a way to deal with hazards, so very, very useful for the water team to get rid of, like, toxic spikes if that's an issue, but I don't think it also maybe even gets rid of sticky webs if that's a problem you're looking into. Really good shiny, by the way, just to clarify, because I really like the green shiny. It's great.
It is a good shiny,
but I don't know how I feel about it on the team. It's a psychic type that he didn't have. Fills the last spot requirement for his team. I think it fits. It's just going to be interesting to see, because Espeon, as with all evolutions, they're very predictable in their sets, so it's going to be interesting to see how this works.
If I'm being honest, I don't think this is a Pokemon we can expect to see a lot of. I do think this was a tier filler for tier 3. But as you said, evolutions are very predictable. I don't like this pick, if I'm being honest. I like Espeon, but I don't like it on this team. I think there are better mons, because this is definitely a tier 3 filler. And on to the next pick, we've got Trash.
Quite literally.
Really, literally. JJ, what happened, man? I know it's a poison type, which is a type he didn't have. I think that's the reason behind his pick. If I'm being honest, I think this is for Toxic setup and Toxic Spikes, if I'm being honest. I don't think we'll see much of it, as I've said 99% of the second half of JJ's draft. I'm not a big fan of this pick, if I'm being honest. So what do you make of it? That's okay else.
As of someone who has used Garbodor in the past, it's an interesting mon to run. I don't think it has the defensive capabilities that it really needs to run some of the sets that people try to run with it. It does have that capability for Toxic Spikes, but it does have quite a limited move pool, in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it has some coverage, but it's quite limited in what it usually brings. Despite the look of this thing, it actually is pretty trash.
It is.
But I think it could be a fun one to see on the team. Again, as Dewey said, not something I expect to see frequently, but something that's going to be useful for when you have to deal with mons that are going to be defensive and you want to wear them down with like Toxic or Toxic Spikes. I think that's going to be a good use for this thing, and if it comes in a match. JJ also picked up Komala as his last mon, which, I don't know about this thing. I've never really thought this thing was a great mon to grab. I mean, you can't put it to sleep, so that is something that's cool with it.
It is true.
But a normal type's not bad pick. It's quite interesting to see what this is going to be doing, although I feel like it's not going to be doing much on the team.
I think he'll be sleeping on the sidelines.
But yeah, he could be interesting to use.
Now, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this was a points pick. I think he only had 10 points left.
Yes.
Yeah. This was because he needed a tier 5, and I think he looked at Kamala.
Actually, has. He has no points left. Yeah, he has tier 5.
I look at this team and I look at the draft. JJ's first has 6 picks, brilliant. Last 6, questionable. the Fennekins look dangerous. But those last 6 picks have, in my power rankings, knocked it down a bit, if I'm being honest. But the first 6 picks, I thought you and JJ, the Wingles and Fennekins were pretty equal. I'd have to say the Wingles draft doesn't look bad because I think this is obviously a points-based pick. I don't like this pick, if I'm being honest. As I said, I think he'll be sleeping on the sidelines. We move on to pick number 99. The Rhode Island Brackets select Vaporeon. Obviously, Rain Team. Good pick for a Rain Team. Problem is, Vaporeon, as we have mentioned, all evolutions are very, very predictable. But I actually think this works quite well, this team, because it is a Rain Team. You know, I think it gets Swiss Swim, if I'm not mistaken.
It does not.
It does not, but I think, does it get a Speed Boost in Rain?
No.
I don't know what to say about this pick anymore. I don't know. But Water type moves are powered up.
Yeah.
I did know that.
You good?
Oh, I'm very tired. It is 10 past 10.
This is not. I don't like this pick at all. 100% don't like this pick.
No, I've always also gone
all right.
my estimation.
So, like, I can understand drafting a couple water types with a rain team, but this does not fit a rain team, despite being a water type. It's not much this Vaporeon's going to do for you. And I don't understand why. You have points left. You have 20 points left. You could have grabbed something a lot better for your team, honestly. And it went with Vaporeon. I'm not quite sure why this is here. Again, I think you just bring a solid grass type. You run through this team pretty nicely. Let's be honest. You go pretty nicely through this team. So you're suffering from 2E, from 2E drafting, in my opinion, at this point.
Chewy-itis.
Going to New York Mets, we got... I don't even want to talk about this pick. This changes everything with this draft.
It really does.
The one thing I don't like about it is that it's another psychic type that puts 3 on the team. And while I still think this could have been a cool mon to grab, I think you could have got Latios and given that Mega to Scizor, which would have been more efficient to use.
I do agree.
But, like, this thing is just power. I expect to see this thing every week, although I do expect to see Medicham and Mew every week too, so maybe he just brings psychic types. I don't know. It can be very powerful. It can be very offensive, and it is absolutely terrifying to see that a Mega Latios waited until the 12th round to show itself.
100th pick.
That's crazy.
It was the 100th pick of the draft, and I'm amazed. I think, if I'm being honest, I don't think the type coverage was maybe right move, but I think he saw it and went, power! And went, I'm out of that. And to be fair play, have the points. I would probably do the same. But I think he's suffering from a form of chewy-itis, where he's got a lot of one type. So we move on to the first Z move. As you can see, I've actually got one Pokemon left to draft. I decided to take the Dragonium Z for the simple reason I have Gyarados, Dragonite, Alolan Executor. I have a lot of Dragon types. If I didn't have this, I'd probably be in a bit of trouble. There you go. Expert analysis.
I am completely shell shocked that this thing came out this early. Like this whole round, a lot of people start drafting Z crystals. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Z crystals are supposed to be like your last pick because everyone does that. You missed everything, Tekkit. That's what you missed. You missed everything. But Dragonium Z, I think it fits the team honestly because you have 1, 2 dragon types as well as I don't know what your last slot is. Yeah, you have 2 dragon types. You have some other things that can use dragon type moves, and it's quite interesting to see all that coming out. And I think if you didn't draft this, you're going to draft Waterium Z. So I actually probably would have drafted Waterium Z. Let's be honest.
Great. If I'm being honest, if you look at the next round, I think I caused a bit of a trigger reaction by taking the Z move.
Yeah, you did.
Moving on. I think everyone went, don't want to lose the Z move.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, must take. And on to Tekkit's pick.
On to the Imploding Typhlosions, and my thing stopped because I typed. That's great. I went backwards. There we go. Skarmory in the tier 2 slot for one of his last free picks. I don't know how I feel about this. Yes, turn by turn. I don't know how I feel about this pick. It's a steel type. that wasn't on the team before. I absolutely hate Skarmory as a Pokemon because it freaking sucks to fight. So, annoying plus Tech It, probably a good matchup.
Uber annoying.
So, I think it's a solid pick.
It's a rare occurrence, but I'm actually going to praise Tech It. This Pokemon, like Tech It, is very annoying. Very annoying. You can defog. You can get rid of, spikes. And Stealth Rock's still very good, useful, easy for a stall team. But I'm not sure how well it fits on the team. It's a steel type which you didn't have before, but I don't know how well it fits on the team, from being honest. And we'll move on to the Shamrock Cyphers and their Z move, which is it's quite obvious to go with Victini. It's the Fire EMZ. It's obviously to go with Victini. Chaos.
I don't know. I don't agree with this Z move. I think he honestly.
I don't think it's the right one.
If you look at me, I honestly think he took this because he knew I was looking for it, which I was. It was one of the two I wanted, but
fair enough.
I think he knew I wanted it and he wanted to get rid of that possibility, so he grabbed it. But I guess it could be useful. I mean, the Victini obviously would be scary with it, although I don't see it going on Victini. I'd probably see it going on Nidoqueen, actually, with the Fire Blast.
Oh,
so
good thing.
That would be something I would see. Maybe some other Mon with hidden power fire, put it on that. I don't know. You have fun doing interesting things with this, Dermo. You have fun with it. Next up, Southampton Sand Slashes with Florges. Yeah. I don't like this with the Rabombi, but I think it's better than the Rabombi, so I think it's a good pick.
Agreed.
Very defensive Mon, very good at healing and just being a tank for a team. So I think it fits well. It does pair really well with Lucario and Bronzong, as I've used last season. So I think it's a good grab there. But, I mean, you already have a Fairy type in Tapu Lele. You already have a Fairy type in Rabombi. Maybe something else would have been better here, but, it's just what you want. Yo, shout out to Dave for being here.
Hey, Dave.
Go ahead.
Father Dave. But what were we doing? I was distracted by Dave.
Florges.
Florges. I like this pick. It's probably the most defensive Fairy type there is. I'm agreeing. Rabombi. Sorry, Andrew, terrible pick. I do like this pick, to be honest, and I think he covered it all pretty well.
Okay.
On to the next pick, the 105th pick of this draft. The Detroit Red Wing was selected for Relegator, the last Pokemon they selected. I liked this pick. It's another water type. Obviously, you've got 2 fire types, 2 water types. That adds an element of unpredictability to it. I do like this pick as Ice Fang. I think you can get Thunder Punch as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of unpredictability. I like this pick. And to be honest, I like your draft. I think you've done the best draft. So, go watch Chaos's How to Draft Leagues. As it turns out, he's quite good at drafting.
Dude, I've said if I wasn't in a draft league and someone would pay me just to draft, I would do it. It's so much fun. So let's be honest with the Fragator pick. I just kind of picked it. just kind of picked it. I'm like,
I had a feeling.
I could use a water type. I'm like, I had a tier 3 spot, tier 2 spot. I'm like, I don't really like anything tier 2. Went to tier 3. I'm like, Fragator. I might pick that up. And I'm like, I like this. So I grabbed it. So that's really just what it is. I just kind of grabbed it because I didn't know what else to grab because my entire draft was completely gone at this point.
My draft was a goner.
I like how it fits. I think it fits on the team well. It gives me another option besides Quagsire. So, could be interesting. And with my final pick, I picked Ground EMZ as my Z Crystal. As I said, I kind of want a Fire EMZ, but I think this works out well. There's pretty much every Mon on my team can use this in some way, shape, or form. And that's what I like about it. I want the surprise factor in where my Z Crystal comes or where my Z Crystal is not even there. So, good luck trying to figure out where this thing's coming, boys, because it's going to get you a couple times.
I've had the fun to just working out. I like this. It does go most of your team. Relegator can get Earthquake. Hitmonchan can get something.
Earthquake.
So Striker, I'm certain gets. Mylon can get something. Arcanine I don't think can.
Get Earthquake.
Okay, Earthquake, obviously. Like Sableye, I don't think. Torkoal, obviously Earthquake. Venusaur, can't think of anything.
Earthquake.
Earthquake. God of War definitely doesn't get Earthquake. Quagsire obviously gets Earthquake. Letters others do not. I like that. And to be honest, I think you round off your draft very, very well. Good work, sir. Then the Shamrock Cyphers conclude their draft with. No, they do not conclude their draft because they missed a pick, didn't they?
No, they have everything.
Oh, it has 3 at the bottom. Yeah, they have a pick later on. Pick something else. Whimsicott is a grass type. I think this might have been a panic pick.
Wait, where are you looking at?
Pick 109, on side 109. Whimsicott.
We're on Southampton Sogalios and Titanium Z, sir. I mean Southampton Sand Slashes. Titanium Z.
I do apologise. I got confused. Let's pretend that never happened. That's quite embarrassing. But I like this Titanium Z. They've got Lucario, Crocodile, Incineroar can do something. Like a Sceptile can do something. I like that. I think that works well for team.
Interesting pick. Yeah. I like Titanium Z. Fits with... I'm seeing a lot of usage on the team. Crocodile, Lucario, Incineroar. Savali, if it wants to. I mean, it could. Possibility. Pretty sure Sceptile does get some. Maybe Archeops even. So, got some usage in the team. Pretty diverse. And I think it's a interesting grade. Moving on to the Scythers with the Whimsicott, because Tui skipped it and already talked about it. But, Prankster, interesting. Cool coverage for the team. Again, you already have Tangela, so I'm not sure why you grabbed this. But can be a fun mon with Prankster. So, cool.
The next pick, I'm not 100% sure, is the Imploding Typhlosion Aggron.
You're not going to talk about Whimsicott? You're not going to talk about... You're just not going to talk about it?
I've already spoken about Whimsicott.
Yeah, well, fine. Go ahead.
Terrible pick. There we go.
Had to be picked.
Aggron. I'm not a big fan of this pick, if I'm being honest. I don't like Aggron. Too slow. I think, was this one of the picks he had to replace?
Yep. This was Gudra.
This is a pick because he needed to pick.
It's not terrible. I mean, it's not great for the Porygon or the Cloyster and Regice that are all weak to fighting. But, I guess it's another Stealth Rocker. And that could be cool. It also gives you a Steel type besides your Skarmory. So, quite interesting. Again, it's a filler pick. Yeah. We'll talk about the teams later, so don't worry about it. Moving on, Darby Dawn fans picking the last pick of the draft for them in the Alolan Raichu. I mean, it's not a water type or a dragon type, so I'll give you that. But, I mean, 2 types you don't have on your team. Besides, well, I guess you do have Psychic on Slowbro. I see that now. Interesting electric type. Interesting pick an electric type. I mean, you still have points at the end, right? So
no, I've used them all.
Used them all. So this is now you have 10 points left.
I'm making a change.
So, yeah, interesting that you didn't grab something different. I guess Alola Raichu is fast and powerful, but also very frail. And gives you yet another ground type weakness on your team. So, not my favorite thing in the world.
Can I be honest? Now, if this was on my own channel, or Invisible Corporations, there is a certain word I'd be using. It begins with an S. I'll leave it to your imagination. That describes this pick quite well.
Sushi.
I'm quite...
Surfer?
Not sushi. Not surfer. Well, that does describe that pick quite well. Has a T in it.
Yeah, I know.
Another word for excrement. It is a terrible pick. Another ground start weakness. My draft's terrible. I've got a bit of a rebuild job on my hands. I'm not happy with my pick. The next pick was the North Carolina Arcanines, and I think that's for Fairydium.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not. I think that's for Sylveon, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Altaria, perhaps.
Yeah.
No other purpose for it.
Not really.
On to the next pick.
I mean, I don't really agree with the Sea Crystal. There's so many other things you could have grabbed here. A Steelium Z would be cool. That'd be kind of fun since you do have a Magnezone.
Well, true. And Celesteela.
I'm just saying. Maybe Stelium or Electrium Z. Could have been cool. But whatever. They both already drafted, so don't worry about it. Next up, New York Mets picking up Rockingham Z. I'm actually really surprised by this. I honestly think, now looking back at it, like the Fairy MZ actually makes a lot of sense because I really see that on this team.
Yes, I do.
But
I have a sneaky feeling you want it.
But I don't like the Rockingham Z. I'm a little confused with. Like, I know a few Mons get it. Like, maybe that's to boost up Stone Edge on Entei or something on Snorlax or something like that. Like, heck, even Rock Tomb on Medicham. But I don't know. I don't know about this. I don't really like this Z move on this team.
If I'm being honest, I'm not. What's the next pick? Stelium Z?
Yeah, that's what
I'm not very up to date with my Z moves, so I'm not really gonna recognise them. I don't really see why the Stelium Z is used. I can't. Does the Anaheim, they have a steel type? I just can't see it for Jirachi. Obviously, for Jirachi, that. There's not much really to say about the Z moves, is there?
Not really, just like what they're useful for.
As we're down to the last few picks.
I can kind of see this would be a good move for Jirachi. Although I might have gone like Psychinium Z or something like that. You have more potential to use it maybe on something like Shaman or Suicune. But with the Stelium Z, you do give that Jirachi some extra power, which honestly is very helpful depending on what kind of Jirachi you're running. So I don't think it's a terrible Z move. I just would have picked a different one.
I'm disappointed in Fennekin's later round picks. I think it went a bit downhill after a really good start.
Yeah.
Next
up is Normalium Z, and I don't even need to talk about this. Every Pokemon gets a normal type move whatsoever, but he's not going to use it, so it's not important to talk about.
It's true. The next pick is actually a Pokemon. The Shamrock Solar Ice Life is complete their draft with Uxie. I quite like the Lake Trio in competitive. It depends how you use him, but quick. Got a lot of move diversity. I think it clashes a bit with Reuniclus and Victini psychic wise, so not probably the best pick in the world.
I see something very similar to what Mew did here with 3 psychic types. We see a lot of the teams this season having a lot of the same typings, and that's probably not the best thing. This Uxie's interesting as a pick, gives you another stealth rocker, maybe if you don't want to use Nidoqueen. It also gives you ability to get rid of that levitate weakness on like Nidoqueen, Regirock, Raikou. So I could see it for that purpose, but I don't really see don't really see the use of it, Reuniclus, and Victini all on the same team. I mean, maybe it and Victini, but definitely not it, Reuniclus, and Victini. So maybe something different with this last pick. Next up, North Carolina Arcanines picking their last Mon, which is Kommo-o. Very interesting dragon and fighting type to grab. 2 types that are on the team. So I'd say this is a really good Mon to put on this team. Finally finishes that Fairy Dragon Steel Core that we've had from the very beginning with Celesteela, Sylveon, and Kommo-o. I guess you could switch Madizone in too. But, Kommo-o can be built both specially and offensively, physically, either way. So I think it's a solid Mon and probably the best thing he could have grabbed at this point in the draft.
I absolutely agree with you. I must first say, Kommo-o shiny is that ain't nice. Okay. That's a horrible shiny. But we're not here to talk about shinies. That's for a future day. I like this pick. I actually agree with you. I think it is the last Pokemon selected, and there weren't much left. Free agency there ain't much good. From being honest, there's a few good things that went undrafted, but not much. I do like this pick, and I think Zion picked the best thing possible. And the 117th and final pick was Red Iron Raticate selecting the Electrium Z. It's alright, goes well with Tapu Koko.
Yeah, I definitely see it used on Koko. I could see it also used on, I think Norvin gets some electric type moves as well. So, and then Muck also has Thunder Punch, so that could be something else
that is true.
We see with that. But, Electrium C, kind of cool for the team. I mean, a few Mons get it, so interesting and useful. Although at this point in the draft, Waterium Z is still on the table, so that might be something to grab as well. But, it just depends on what you want. And I guess Electronium Z was the solution for this. So real quick change over. I'm gonna actually get out of this screen real quick. That concludes all our draft picks. There's my logo. Have fun. Enjoy it. But we're going to pull up the draft sheet, actually. So we're going to take a look at the teams. So let's go through the teams all together. We got, first and foremost, the Detroit Red Wings. So I'm going to let you go ahead and start. Since this is my team, go ahead and start. What do you think about this draft and this team?
Well, I've mentioned it quite a bit. I'm a big fan of this team. Obviously, you've landed yourself in a favourable division.
Yeah. Not my choice, by the way.
I do like this team. I actually don't think there's much weakness to it. I do genuinely say, in my tiers, I would say this is probably the best team there is. If I'm being honest. So, what do you think of your own team? Are you happy with your draft?
This is, out of the 4 seasons I've drafted, this is my least favorite draft team. So it's interesting. I like it. It doesn't quite fill what everything I wanted. I missed some of the picks that I really wanted to get, which is kind of sad. But you know, I still think I made the best of the team that I had even with that that hindrance with everyone else drafting some of the things I wanted. Of course, there are things that could make this team better, but I think I still got a solid team, a couple good mons in every tier that can do some work, and a fairly balanced team nonetheless. So I think it's turned out pretty well. I think I got an easy division to go through, so not really worried about that. Next up, Derby Dawn fans.
The most unbalanced team.
Out of all, I always hate to say this because I feel like I say this every season, but this is the worst draft of the league. There's so many duplicate typings. There's not a whole lot of diversity with the team. And I know you're going to do some work with it, so I'm actually interested and excited to see what you do with it in a couple weeks once you have everything drafted. I think it's going to be too late in the season for you to come back, but it could be interesting nonetheless.
I think, I won't lie, even by my own standards, this draft is horrific. It is a horrible draft, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, nice one, Chewy. Let's move on to Mets before I have to cry.
It's you.
What do you think of this?
I'm still not sure what to think about Mew's team. I know he does a lot of really cool things with his team, and he has a lot of really cool ideas. But the fact of the matter is, I feel like he has some mons that are going to come every single week, and we're going to have to expect them. But I feel like he's missing some of those extra linchpins on the final ends of his team. So maybe like the 5th or the 6th mon that he brings. It's going to be interesting to see what he grabs and pulls in for that. So I think he's got a good team. Could it be better? Most likely it could be. But I think he's drafted well for what he likes to do.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. I don't think there's actually much more time to that. I think, it could be better. I think it's a good draft. It's better than some people's, but it's not the worst. It could have been better, shall we say. Tekka is terrible.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I actually think this is better than the Derby Dar fans team.
I'd agree with that. I've got the worst team.
He has some diversity, which is good. But there is a few mons that I question, and I know it's Tekka, and he likes his certain mons. But, at some points in the draft, you have to get rid of some of these. And I also realize that Typhlosion is a tier 4, not a tier 3. So, fix that.
No,
but there's some interesting things with this team, and it's going to be interesting to battle them. Moving on to Southampton Sandslashes. I think this is a pretty good team. One of the ones that I would definitely put is a really good playoff contender. Something that's going to run through the draft and run through the league.
I think the only thing that will hold this team back is its division.
Yes, that's the only thing.
Anaheim Phoenicians, who I would say appear to have a very capable coach at the helm. I think my problem with this team is it's good, and I do think it's one of the better teams. I would say, obviously I'll do like power rankings at the end, but I do like this team. I think had it been in a bit of an easy division, the green division, it would do a bit better.
Like maybe the red division.
To be fair, that's got 2 morons in it.
Yeah, and then somebody always wins, so there you
Yeah, no, Chaos just never wins, does he?
Yeah, I'm terrible, guys. Owen Infinity. Like, Owen Infinity, you know? Like Owen
Now,
Infinity.
who would be Owen Infinity?
I know, it's all yours. North Carolina Arcanines. Again, Tui actually did this really well. Said, good draft at the beginning. I don't agree with some of the picks. I think he has a lot of duplicates that he could get rid of, put something better in there. A really solid tier 1 Mon would be phenomenal on this team and really give him an edge in this yellow division. But I just feel like he's missed a few opportunities that he's had to get some really cool Mons. And, you know, I feel like a little bit of team building with this could make him a very viable team. But, you know, he could still pull out some things from his hat. And I definitely think this is a middle tier team. Something that's going to have to work hard to get into the playoffs, but something that definitely could.
I'd agree with that. You know, I think, as I've said the whole way through this 3-hour podcast, really good start to the draft. Like, a really good start. Like, look solid. Celesteela, Sylveon, we're thinking that's a tough team to beat. But unfortunately, just some really bad picks. Torterra, Ursaring, Mega Camera, Venomoth, Komodo. Some terrible picks, unfortunately. Let this team down. But actually, maybe that's how draft saved them. But I think you're right, mid-tier.
All right, moving on to the Shamrock Scyther.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about this.
You want to go then?
I will go. I think this team's got some good spots. Victini, Raikou. Then there's Whimsicott.
Okay.
I don't like this team, from being honest. I would say this is mid-tier.
You know, I would give it upper mid-tier. I think he had a really good start to the draft. He has really credible Mons right off the top. Victini, Mega Lopunny, very, very powerful. He's got some defensive utility in the back with like Reuniclus and Blastoise. I think he just got a lot of really of the same kind of Mons on his team, so he's not going to have a lot of viability with changing his teams in and out, which I think is something you really need. That Victini is going to be one of the linchpins of this team, and definitely disappointed that got taken.
Yes, I was.
Because I wanted that really bad. Next
Raticate.
up, Rhode Island Raticate. So, an interesting team. Rain team. Again, I don't like how you showed the hand right off the bat, but I think you have made a decent team. It's not my favorite set for a Rain team. There's some mods I definitely would throw in there that you don't have, but nonetheless, I think this team works. You have good use in the Rain with Tapu Koko and Thunder, Noivern with Hurricane. You got good water type Pokemon and Mega Swampert that can sweep in the Rain. So it's keeping that Rain up for this team, and I think that's going to be a detriment to it, causing it to have a really tough time making it out of the divisional rounds. So I think the Blue Division is one that's going to be interesting and close.
Yes.
And I'm really excited to see which team makes it out.
I'm going to actually put a prediction of Eradicates. Clinically, he has proven to be quite a capable battler.
We'll talk about who's going to make playoffs at the end. Don't worry about
it. I just don't think, he's recovered after a pretty bad start to the draft. I mean, Politoed round 1 is up there, my Vaporeon. Not a great pick, if I'm being honest. But has recovered, and you know what? I would say better than, I'd say maybe the 4th best draft. In the middle.
Okay.
There's no. Actually, that's too high. Let's move on to Anaheim Pelicans, and I will start this. Really good start to the draft. 6 brilliant picks. 6 terrible picks, for being honest. I don't like the last 6 picks just weren't for me. He has 6 great mons: Diancie, Garchomp, Jirachi, Suicune, Shaman, Rotomii, and he has a few good ones, but first 6 brilliant. Second 6, not as good. What do you think?
I agree with the beginning. He has a really strong start to the draft. The first 6 Mons, definitely Mons that you can bring every single week. Good team. The other Mons, they also fill in some interesting requirements, getting some switches, getting some power, and, having some defensive capabilities in the back. I think this is a really solid team. Probably, in my mind, the best draft of this entire season. I think this is the best team we got right now. And speaking of best teams, Tui, we're going to go take a look at the divisions and post-divisions.
I'm there.
Derby easy win. Yeah, I know it's an easy win, Dave. You don't have to tell me. So we're gonna take a look at the divisions, and this is how we have it set up right now. The postseason, each division gets a person to go in. So the champion of each division gets to take on the postseason. We also have 2 extra spots for the best records. So An interesting set of this is of who's going to get out of the division. So we have the 4 divisions up there. You can see the teams. I want to know who you think is going to get out of each division.
I think.
So let's start with the red division and go from good to the right.
The red division, it's hard to bet against the champs. The 3-time champs. But I'm going to.
Ooh.
Derby Dawn fans.
You know what? I actually agree with that. Derby Dawn fans for the champion of this. I'm kidding. I tried to get through that. I really did. I'm starting to crack up, and it just didn't happen. I feel like this division is a really easy division for my team, just because I feel like I have a good matchup versus both of the teams in it.
You do.
I feel like this is probably two of the. I hate to say this, but I feel like these are probably the 2 worst drafts that we have.
Oh, definitely.
And we have one of the top, I would say one of the top 3 drafts in the league. So
number 1.
The fact of the matter is, I think it's going to be interesting to see if one of you two can pull out and get the extra pick. But I definitely think the red division is going to go to your champion. And I don't want to sound cocky and like that, but I feel like I got this in the bag. So, moving to the blue division, this is one that I'm really interested in seeing. The Shamrock, Scythers, and Rhode Island Raticates. So 2 goes with the Raticates. I'm actually going to go with the Scythers. I think the Victini in the front, holding it down, I feel like that has the power to overthrow the Raticates. I feel like if the Raticates did a little bit of changing to their team, it could be better, and I definitely would give them the edge. But I feel like Dermo has some secret text in the back that he's going to be ready to throw out, and he's going to pull this blue division out. Although I think it's going to be really close, and I think the Rhode Island Raticates have a definite shot to get that extra spot.
Yeah. Let's talk about green division.
All right.
2 things. I feel so sorry for Endomiti, because I think he'll be in the NE, but I can't bet against Fennekins.
This is a tough division.
This is a tough division. I would say this is the highest skilled. I think the Fennekins will win, but I think the Solglares won't let themselves down. Sun Slashers won't let themselves down.
I definitely think that this division for me comes down to the head-to-head match. Whoever wins that gets the bid. Because I feel like the teams are going to do relatively the same. Maybe like the team that comes out with 2 losses over the team that comes out with 3 losses. That's what's going to happen here. Although I feel like it's really good that both of these teams get into the playoff because they both are really good battlers as far as I know. I'm not so sure about JJ because I've never battled against him, but I know Ender Mewtwo is a solid guy. And I feel like both of these teams get into the playoffs, and there's just 1 point differential that separates the two from who wins the division, who doesn't. I think it's going to be our most competitive division by far.
Yeah. Right, yellow division, Mets or Arcanines?
It's not as tough for me. I think it's going to be still competitive. I want to give the edge to Mew. And the edge just because I know he knows how to work some of these mons. He has a familiar team, and he's got a decent skill of battling. He was number 1 in the league most of the season last year until he ended up losing to me.
He made one mistake, I think.
He made a few mistakes, lost in the playoffs, but he had a real shot at the championship. So I think he puts enough fight against Zion to get that win.
JJ just said, can I drop a Pokemon from one of that isn't drafted?
Yes, but it's
we'll
talk about it.
So it looks like he's making some agency moves.
Probably watch the draft.
Yellow division, Mets.
All right. So it looks like
I'm going to go with Mets.
Okay.
Mets any day. And for overall winner, I'm going to go final. Wingles are my pick.
Okay. I was going to ask about that, but so we agree that Wingles get out of red. We disagree in blue. We agree that Fennekins get out of green, and we agree that Mets get out of yellow. So
yes.
I really think. What do you think is what 2 teams get that final spot? Get the best record spots? Which 2 teams do you think get it?
Has to be the Sand Slashers. One of them, definitely.
Okay.
I think the other one, I'm actually going to bet on myself. It's not very often I bet on myself, but I can pull it back that far. It's jump. In all seriousness, I would like to say it's me, but I would say it's the loser of Arcanine, the Arcanines.
So you think Arcanines get in?
Yeah.
You think the one on the... So you're getting 2 from green and 2 from yellow?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I definitely think Ender Mewtwo gets in the playoffs. I think both the green teams are solid. They're going to get in. It's going to be a really close race. As I said, it's going to be 1 point or the other, but I feel like the Fennekin's just have a better team. And so my thing is red gets I feel like the red doesn't even have a chance, really. You guys got to do some miracles to, like, you guys got to start playing like 5. You got to play like me, or like you got to A-drive it to get out of that. Play some weird, crazy stuff to get out. But I don't think red gets anything. It's going to be a toss-up to me between the blue division and the yellow division. I think the Rhode Island Raticates have a good shot to get out, but I feel like the Arcanines also have a really good chance to be right on the edge of the Mets. And I feel like for that final spot, as I said in the green division, it comes down to the one-on-one matchup. Who wins in Rhode Island Raticates versus North Carolina Arcanines? Whoever wins that gets my 6th spot for the playoff.
I agree with you.
And if I had to bet on it right now, I probably give that honestly to the Arcanines. I probably give that to the Arcanines. Let's be honest. So nice. I'm saying my playoffs is going to be DRW, SS, SHS, AF, NCA, and MYM.
Take it, you're going down.
Yeah, you're going down, Tech It. Like, I'm debating who's gonna have the worst record. You or Tui.
Oh, it's a toss up between me and Tech It.
That's the point. Like, I think it's whoever loses your matchup versus each other. Which my bet is on Tui losing that match. So there you go.
I have a bad record, but I'm gonna have to get some assistance on building my team for that one because I am not losing.
All right, last thing I want to talk about before we close off this stream: who gets the championship? Make your prediction right now.
I've already made it clear.
Just restate it because I want a bigger head.
Detroit Red Wingles. Hello.
That's funny. That's a funny one. I trust me. I believe in myself. I know I can win this season, but I am so worried with the competitiveness that we are getting in this draft, especially the people I don't know about. I think it comes down. I really think it comes down not to the championship battle. I think it comes down. I gotta look. I think it comes down to week 9, and who wins that matchup? Who win? Does the Detroit Red Wingles win week 9, or is the Anaheim Fennekins win week 9? Whoever wins that week loses in the final.
Fair enough.
So I feel like I'm gonna not play well in that final match just because I want to see how he's playing, and then I will bring the fire in the final match. I feel like I have the chance to win this, and I hate betting on myself, so I'm actually not going to. I'm actually gonna give it to Anaheim Fennekins and think that's who's gonna win this season. As much as I hate to say it.
I think that'll be the final.
It's gonna be the final. I can see it happening. Although I'm a little worried about some of the other teams, but it depends on who has the easier way through the playoffs. Honestly,
I do agree with you. So we've been streaming for almost.
I'll give you the exact time. It is 3 hours and 22 minutes.
I think that might be the longest stream I've ever I've done non-sleep block.
Yeah. Well, guys, I don't really have anything else to talk about. I think we've covered this team very, very in depth and covered the entire draft in depth. So I'm really happy with what we've done. Unless you have something else to say.
I would just like to say one final thing. Good luck to all taking part. I hope my boy Dave supports the Derby Dome fans.
Not week 1, but
that's all I've got to say.
I think we have some interesting matchups week 1. So. Let's take a look at what we got coming up for you next week, because the
predictions of week 1.
The league actually begins tomorrow night, tonight at midnight actually. So tomorrow starts week 1. We got the Detroit Red Wingles versus the Derby Dawn fans, easy. North Carolina Arcanines versus the Rhode Island Raticates, a tough matchup right off the bat. New York Mets versus the Southampton Southampton Sandslashes, which is a really cool rivalry that we had last season. And then Shamrock Scythers versus Anaheim Fennekins.
Yeah.
I think we got some good matchups. And Tekken has a bye week. So
I think week 1, I'm going to say I win because I can't bet against myself.
I mean, I'll probably just throw it so you win, so that's fine.
Thank you. I'm going to say Raticates.
Okay.
I'm going to say Sandslashes.
Sandslashes.
Sorry, Sandslashes. Fennekins.
I agree with all of those except for our match because I feel like I'm not gonna throw that bad. I might. I've been thinking about memeing, but I don't know yet. I haven't built my team, and so I'm really thinking about memeing against 2E. So we'll see what happens. But yeah.
It is terrible.
Anything else you want to say before I close out this stream?
Thanks for all those who've been around. Ender Mewtwo, thank you very much.
Yeah, a special shout out to Ender Mewtwo, who's been here pretty much the entire stream. So,
yeah.
My guy, thank you for coming out. I know you appreciate these. I have plugged in the chat the Invisible Corporations link. Make sure you guys go check it out. We are sponsored by Invisible Corporations and Invisible Clothing. Make sure you guys go check out Invisible Corporations. A great place with 3 really cool content creators. If you are interested in joining, please let one of us know. It is a great time, and we have something coming out every day of the week, so make sure you go check that out. But as for us here, I want to give another shout out to my man 2E for sticking with me this whole 3.5 hours of this stream.
Well, except like 10 minutes from my computer side.
Yes, yeah.
Actually, I would just like to confirm that wasn't actually a computer failure. That was
internet.
No, that was me accidentally pulling an extension cable out with my foot. All my cables are like a mess at the bottom of my desk, and I just accidentally pulled out.
But yeah, thank you guys for coming out and supporting us. Again, I could not do this league without 2E, so big shout out to him. Make sure you go check out him and subscribe and like all this stuff. You can go Invisible Corporations, find all those links over there, so feel free to do that. It's also in the side on my main page, so go check that out.
Also, big thanks to Chaos for actually organising the league because it's not easy. And
it freaking sucks, dude.
don't
run a draft league.
So big thanks to him, and good luck to all competitors.
Yeah,
you go down.
You're not gonna beat me, dude. I as much as I want to, I don't know. We'll see. But again, guys, check out all the competitors. I don't have their links in the description, but you will see them throughout the season. On my channel, at least, I will plug them if they have channels as we go. Make sure you guys check out my Twitter account for more updates on the PDL. I think I'm going to try to do a post every week, trying to keep the scores updated and all that fun stuff. So we'll have a good time over on my Twitter account. So you can type !Twitter as I have just done in chat, and join in on that because that's the way to keep up to date.
He also puts quite funny comments on my tweets.
I do. It's great. But you know, I think we got a good season. I think it's going to be a really close season, and I'm very excited to play.
I'm excited.
So thank you guys for all watching. I want to give a big shout out to all of the coaches who are still remaining. Those of you who have made my time easy, who have drafted every draft, you are godsends, and I appreciate you. Please come back and play any other season. The rest of you, try to do better, but I still appreciate you. Thank you, all the coaches, for joining the season. Of course, I could not do this without them as well. And another big shout out to my man 2E for sticking with me throughout this podcast, as well as being my eyes and ears when I am not in the channel. So, you know, we do have a spot open, maybe potentially in the future, but you know, I like to do competitors, and I think it's going to be an interesting season nonetheless. I'll let you turn it over to you for final comments before we close off.
Take it. You're going down.
Oh boy. This is why I wanted to put them in the same division, because it's a good rivalry.
It is actually a very good rivalry because me and Tekit are both good trash talkers.
And then you throw me in it, and I'm a good trash talker too, but I actually can back up my trash talk.
To be I think Red Division should be renamed the Trash Talking Division.
Nah, we did red, blue, yellow, green, so that's why. But
why don't we do the Tapus?
Because I didn't like that anymore.
Fair enough. I'm done.
Okay. Thank you guys for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you guys hit that like button down below if you enjoyed this podcast. If you guys watched all the way through, like Ender Mewtwo, I appreciate you. Yeah, you get timed out, boy. Not timed out, but muted. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys disliked it, feel free to leave a dislike too. Like I don't care. It helps me out.
Dislikes.
Yeah, I had 5, and then it went away.
I had 5, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, you guys feel free to dislike if you want. I'm fine with that. It boosts my awareness out there, so that's fine.
My ego will take a beating.
Yeah. And as always, guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay connected with everything going on. Myself, and I know 2E's doing this as well, we're doing team breakdowns tomorrow. So
Chewy's uploading a video, good God.
Check it out. 2E's uploading a video first time in 3 months. Go give him a shout out for coming back. You know, it's hard to do that. So I'm doing a team analysis of my own team more in depth than I did today. So if you want to check that out, it's my channel coming out tomorrow at noon. Definitely check that out. And that's all I really have. So thank you guys for watching.
Just disliked a video.
That's fine. I don't give it. S word. I don't give an S word with a T in it. It doesn't matter to me. But thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you guys starting this week for week 1 of PDL season 4. So that's all we have for you today. Until next time. My name is Chaos. His name is Tui. We'll see you guys in the battles this week, where the Detroit Red Wings will utterly 6-0 the Derby Dog fans. See you guys then. Peace, all my friends, and we'll see you later. But until then, my name is Chaos. He's Tui. We're signing off. Stay safe, and as always, bird it up.